Hello, I'm Tim Reed. For many years, it's been my pleasure to produce a number of documentaries discovering fascinating and provocative tales, the accomplishments, tragedies, and the greatness behind some of the most unique people of color that have ever walked through life. From my archives, here is one such story.
In 1927, Dewey Brown gained membership into the PGA of America, becoming the first black to do so. So Dewey Brown, for 7 years, performed all the duties of a PGA club professional. He gave lessons, organized tournaments, then very suspiciously, in 1934, his membership in the PGA of America was revoked. Come to find out, Brother Brown was actually a black man. Somebody found out, dropped a dime on him. Several months later, the PGA of America instituted its Caucasian-only clause in 1934. So for 27 years, blacks and other minorities and women could not play on the PGA Tour.
Hello, I'm Tim Reed. Since the debut of Jackie Robinson with the Brooklyn Dodgers, the African-American community has gained great acclaim in the world of mainstream sports. In addition to becoming leaders in baseball, basketball, football, and tennis, a small number of African-Americans have ventured into a sport that many had fought to keep exclusive, the world of professional golf. Over the course of this program, we will uncover a legacy that has been mostly unknown and rarely told, as we present part one of Rainbow on the Green.
Origins of the game of golf date back nearly 1,000 years to 11th century China and 12th century Europe. The object of the game was to use the least number of hits or strokes to get the ball into designated holes across a playing field known as a golf course. Thus, the modern game of golf was born. By the end of the 19th century, golf had become a highly popular game among the upper crust of European society, especially in England and Scotland. As the popularity of golf reached the United States, international competition between Europeans and Americans led to a major historic moment at the second United States Open tournament at Shinnecock Hills Golf Course in Long Island, New York on July 18, 1896.
John Shippen was a 16-year-old caddy. He and a fellow caddy, a Shinnecock Indian named Oscar Bunn, became proficient as players. So the second U.S. Open came to Shinnecock Hill Country Club, and the members wanted them to compete in the championship. They were the best players at the club. So you had these Europeans, mostly Scots, Brits, Irishmen. They raised so much hell at the thought of these minority players, these young caddies, playing in the tournament that they threatened to withdraw. The head of the United States Golf Association was a man named Theodore Havermeyer. Mr. Havermeyer told them, withdraw. The tournament is going on if only 2 players compete in it. They backed down, of course, and after the first round of the tournament, John Shippen, I think he shot a first round 81 and shared the first round lead with one of their top players. Of course, the second round, he finished tied for 4th or 5th in the event overall. But what he proved was that a black man could play the game at the highest level.
Only 3 years following John Shippen's historic U.S. Open debut, a prominent African-American dentist and Harvard University faculty member named Dr. George Franklin Grant brought a new dimension to the sport of golf with a bold new creation.
Dr. Grant had a fondness for the game, but he also was a master of haberdashery. He was used to the finer things in life. And so back then, the way that you made a golf tee was to take some damp sand and form it in the shape of a T and set your ball on it. Well, this could be quite messy, as you might imagine. Well, Dr. Grant, I guess he was tired of, soiling his clothing. So he decided there had to be a better way. He came up with the wooden golf tee. He did patent it in 1899, but he didn't exploit it. But what he proved was that blacks and other minorities had the wherewithal to find a better way. And we have done that throughout history in many other areas, and it was the same in golf.
When Rainbow on the Green continues, African Americans solidify their place in golf by creating a league of their own. Following the groundbreaking achievements of John Shippen and Dr. George Grant, many more African Americans and women began building on these successes.
If you look at the history of golf, we kept inventing and inventing and improving. You know, we had our own country clubs. When they wouldn't let us play on the PGA Tour, a group of black businessmen met in 1925 at a YMCA in Washington, D.C. and started our own tour called the United Golfers Association.
The United Golf Association, also known as the UGA, founded in 1925, staged tournaments, clinics, and golf outings around the country. Its mission was to gather all colored golfers and golf associations into one body. Despite the success of the UGA, the ability for black golfers to play consistently required the support of prominent black business leaders and entertainers to finance their golf ventures.
There were some tournaments that were open to blacks, the U.S. Open, the Canadian Open, the L.A. Open, but it took money to compete.
Joe Louis, Ray Robinson, Billy Eckstein, these were the type of people that we had to turn to for our money in the early years that really helped us to help get us started.
That was the impetus of black golf during that period. You had to have someone who could sponsor you.
I worked for Billy Eckstein. Teddy Rose taught Joe Louis how to play. But we all used to travel together. Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, and Ike Williams, you know.
Billy Eckstein, of course, was a famous singer, band leader back in the day, and Charlie Sifford was his man Friday, who taught him how to play, who served as his hustle buddy, and would chauffeur him around the country, and so this is how it was done. Celebrities helping black golfers.
In addition to Billy Eckstein, Joe Louis, and Sugar Ray Robinson, numerous other celebrities were all influential in the progress of the UGA.
This tour spawned many, many great players. Probably the most famous was a guy named Teddy Rhodes. Teddy Rhodes is arguably the greatest black player in the history of the game, bar none.
Pound for pound and shot for shot, he was probably the greatest golfer that I've ever seen.
He was the best player then, Teddy Rose. It took me 5 years before I could beat him.
On the UGA, this man won over 150 golf tournaments. He was a master of the short game. They say that he was the greatest wedge player ever to pick up a golf club.
Probably one of the sweetest swingers that golf I've ever seen, and I think that that's probably what won him over and the reason why he was able to be so successful at it.
He never got a chance really to show how good he was because of the Caucasian-only clause. By the time Charlie Sifford broke through, Teddy Rhodes was a little too old to be considered a contender on the PGA Tour.
Joe Louis rose above the masses as one of the greatest heavyweight boxing champions and one of the most famous Americans of his time. His love for golf solidified friendships with many top black golfers, eventually leading to his support of the UGA and influence over the ultimate integration of the sport.
My father was instrumental in pointing out the segregation of golf, pointing out the unfortunate consequence that black pros couldn't play on the same playing field. And I don't think that rule changed until 1960 or 62. The fact of the matter is my father sponsored a lot of golf tournaments. In 1952, my father was invited to play in the San Diego Open. He was invited by the sponsors, which were the Chevrolet dealers. And they didn't realize that there was a non-Caucasian rule in the PGA bylaws that said if you weren't white, you couldn't be a member of the PGA. If you weren't a member of the PGA, you couldn't play in a PGA tournament. But they wanted the heavyweight champion of the world, Joe Louis, who dominated for 12 years, to play in the 1952 San Diego Open. When they learned that there was this non-Caucasian rule and they had to disinvite my father said, well, they're going to have to tell me to my face. So he got on the plane and went on to San Diego and said, here I am. And so as it turns out, they asked him to qualify, and some black pros tried to qualify as well. And he was the first black to play in a PGA Tour event in the 1952 San Diego as an amateur under a sponsor's exemption.
Lewis was allowed to play, but that didn't break down the barriers. That only nudged the door open about a crack.
While Joe Louis and others continued to struggle for racial equality in golf, a group of 13 women, led by Marilyn Smith and star golfers Patty Berg and Babe Saharias, formed the Ladies Professional Golf Association, or LPGA, in 1950, opening the doors for women to stake their rightful place in the game. When we return, a former caddy from poor beginnings in North Carolina breaks golf's color barrier.
Up until 1961, they had a Caucasian clause in the Constitution of the PGA that said if you were not a Caucasian, you could not be a member of the PGA Tour. We fought that very heartily and carried it to the courts of California, where it was stricken out of, and we were able to become members after that. Charlie was the first to become a member, then Ray Botts, and then Pete Brown and myself. So I was very fortunate to come along at a time when it was a lot easier than it had been for Charlie, you know.
Charlie Sifford says, "Don't give up hope. Watch what I do with this shot."
Get in there!
Despite dealing with racial slurs, death threats, and hate mail, Charlie Sifford never backed down. And in March 1960, his perseverance was rewarded by becoming the first African American to receive a tour card to play on the PGA Tour.
Charlie Sifford. Charlie's been a good player a long time, a hard worker. Deserves a lot of credit.
Okay, Charlie. Good shot, Charlie.
Center of the fairway.
Sifford, starting the tour as a 37-year-old rookie, would go on to win 2 PGA events and amass more than $340,000 in earnings during his PGA career. He garnered another $1 million on the senior PGA Tour.
Charlie Sifford here with a wedge and lofts it up right at the flag. This should be very good. It's going to be right at the hole. Could be very close. Beautiful shot. Almost a stiff one there by Charlie Sifford.
Charlie's accomplishments as both a tour professional and an ambassador for minorities of all colors who followed him onto the tour led him to golf's ultimate prize, induction into the World Golf Hall of Fame in 2004.
The World Golf Hall of Fame, as you probably heard called a number of times, is golf's highest honor. To have someone who literally blazed the way in golf, you only have one of those.
Charlie, had he played in his 20s, he might have won 40, 50 tournaments.
We don't know really how great he would have been in terms of player and number of victories, number of major championships he could have won, but we certainly know a lot about the caliber of the person that he is.
Beautiful putt by Charlie. Fine putt.
You're going to have to forgive me because this is touching. A little old caddy boy from Charlotte, North Carolina. Come from a very poor family. Out there running up and down the road behind this little white ball and getting inducted into the greatest hall, the World Hall of Fame. How about it? I started out in this game, I wanted to do 5 things. I wanted to win a golf tournament. I wanted to play in the National Open. I wanted to play in the U.S. Open. I wanted to play in the Masters. And I wanted to get in the Hall of Fame. Well, I got 4 out of 5, so that little old golf I played was all right, wasn't it?
Coming up on Rainbow on the Green, with the color barrier broken, golfers of all colors joined the PGA Tour. Following Charlie Sifford's historic run, the torch for African-American greatness in golf was passed to Lee Elder, a former UGA star and protege of the great Teddy Rhodes.
He taught me the game. I traveled with him for well over 10 years, and it was certainly something that I enjoyed, and Like I say, he was instrumental in getting my game in the condition that it was in.
Lee Elder established a new standard for black golfers on the PGA Tour, becoming the first African American to earn more than $1 million, the first black member of the United States Ryder Cup team, and qualification for the 1975 Masters Tournament, golf's biggest event.
It meant that I had did something that I was leaving perhaps a goal for other young African Americans who was coming after me to reach, to qualify for the Masters.
Given the racial climate for black golfers on the tour at that time, Elder worked diligently to develop a strong mental focus that helped him achieve his goals on and off the golf course.
I felt that if I could make myself strong mentally and be able to really just block it out of my mind and go ahead and compete and do it with my golf clubs, and I felt that it would certainly prove how tough that I could be mentally and physically.
While Lee Elder brought black golf success to mainstream America, other black golfers joined him on the tour, including James Black, Pete Brown, and Jim Dent, one of the longest drivers off the tee in PGA history.
The first time I ever played with Jack Nicklaus, I played with him at the rail. And I never even think about no distance, how far I was hitting the ball. Well, the first hole I hit at 385, and he hit 325, and he stepped it off. He said, that's far as I ever been outdriven by hitting a 300 yard.
On the green, Chichi Rodriguez putts out for par.
Juan Chichi Rodriguez, a native of Puerto Rico, turned professional in 1960, and in 1963 won his first PGA event, the Denver Open. Rodriguez would go on to win 8 times on the PGA Tour and was a member of the 1973 United States Ryder Cup team. His career on the senior PGA Tour proved to be phenomenal, as he won 22 events in 8 years and established himself as one of the greatest showmen that golf has ever seen.
Watch this.
I could still hit the ball a long way when I went on the seniors tour, so the golf courses were short, and I've always been a good short iron player from the 5-iron on down. I felt more confident over there. There I had a bunch of guys on Social Security.
In 1989, Rodriguez won the Bobby Jones Award, the highest honor given by the United States Golf Association. And in 1992, Chichi became the first Puerto Rican inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame.
In this episode of Rainbow on the Green, you witnessed the transformation of golf from its segregated roots into a true multicultural sport, showcasing the very best regardless of color. In our next episode, you will see how opportunities created by integration have resulted in a new era of superstardom in both the PGA and LPGA tours, and have nurtured the future of minority growth in golf worldwide. I'm Tim Reed, and I want you to tune in to our next episode of Rainbow on the Green, Part 2. Hello, I'm Tim Reed. In Part 1 of Rainbow on the Green, we explored the groundbreaking accomplishment of early African-American golfing pioneers like John Shippen, Charlie Sifford, and the United Golf Association. This legacy of achievement was only the beginning. Over the next half hour, we will explore the journey of women and other minority golfers and investigate what the future holds for them as they emerge as global superstars in the world of golf in Part 2 of Rainbow on the Green.
By the 1960s, the LPGA opened its doors to minority women with the introduction of the great Althea Gibson to the tour in 1963. Gibson, already considered one of America's greatest athletes, had broken the color barrier for women in tennis in 1950. She played in 171 LPGA events from 1963 to 1977. Renee Powell joined Gibson on the LPGA Tour in 1967 after a successful run winning UGA national titles from 1959 to 1961. Powell now manages Clearview Golf Club in East Canton, Ohio, the first golf course in America designed, built, owned, and operated by an African American, her father, William Powell. Following the paths forged by Althea Gibson and Renee Powell were Japanese golf sensations Hisako Higuchi, winner of 69 titles on the LPGA Japan Tour, and Ayako Okamoto. Winner of 17 LPGA events and the first non-American to top the LPGA's money list in 1987. Higuchi entered the World Golf Hall of Fame in 2003, while Okamoto was inducted in 2005.
Down 15, Trevino plays with a possible win in sight. The birdie puts Lee Trevino at 12 under.
The acceptance of Mexican Americans as great golfers came with the career of Lee Trevino, the first Mexican golf superstar.
You're 150 to the pin.
A little 8 iron down.
155. Oh, oops. Now hit the 8. Hit the 8. No, you're supposed to jump.
He's going to caddy for me this week.
I'll tell you one thing, if I caddied for you, you'd have done won the Grand Slam a long time ago.
Trevino was born into poverty in Dallas, Texas, and began his golf career as a caddy at the age of 8. Trevino joined the PGA Tour in 1967, and in 1970 won the PGA Money title. Trevino would go on to win 85 tournaments during his PGA career, including 6 major championships. Trevino, also known as Supermex, was voted the 14th best golfer in history by Golf Digest magazine in 2000. When Rainbow on the Green returns, the late 70s sees the emergence of golf's first Latina superstar and one of the most successful black golfers ever. In addition to the growing African-American participation on the tour, the PGA also saw the arrival of Isao Aoki in 1974, the first Japanese golfer to play on the PGA Tour. Aoki's victory at the 1983 Hawaiian Open was the first win by a Japanese player on the PGA Tour and one of his 73 victories on 6 different tours around the world. Nancy Lopez entered the 1978 LPGA season as a rookie and had a season like no other. Lopez won 9 tournaments, including a record 5 in a row. She was named LPGA Rookie of the Year and Player of the Year, a feat yet to be repeated.
I used to read a lot of things and watch her play and watch her win, and I picture myself in her shoes. I wanted to be like her.
Lopez won 48 LPGA tournaments and was inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame in 1987 at the age of 30.
Calvin then with this tricky little 8-footer coming up the hill. Might break a little from his left. What a good stroke. Oh.
Calvin Peete was not your prototypical golfer. He did not pick up the sport until he was 23 years old, and due to a broken arm he suffered during his youth, never had the power to hit the ball as far as other golfers. However, Peete took on these challenges and became the most successful black golfer in PGA history up to then, winning 12 tournaments over an 8-year period.
He didn't hit a soft one this time. And that's right at it. What a great stroke.
In addition to his tour success, Peete played on 2 United States Ryder Cup teams and led the tour in driving accuracy for 10 consecutive years, an achievement that may never be matched. Pete's outstanding career was only a prelude to another legendary career.
Tiger is the most complete golfer that I have ever seen in my life. The man does not have a weakness.
Eldrick Tiger Woods has become the symbol of world golf and one of the most dominant and influential athletes in history, a child prodigy who began playing golf at the age of 2. Tiger won his first tournament, the Junior World Golf Championship, at the age of 8, and won the U.S. Junior Amateur Championship 3 times. He won 3 consecutive U.S. Amateur Championships, firmly placing his amateur career as the greatest in golf history. Tiger's professional career, which began in 1996, has been nothing short of phenomenal. To date, at the age of 31, Woods has won 61 PGA Tour events, 5th all-time, and 13 major championships, second most of any player of all time.
Do you think that Papi Ortiz is the athlete that Tiger is? There's no way. Roger Federer, to win a tournament, has to beat 6 people. Muhammad Ali beat 1 guy, world champion. Tiger Woods has to beat 153. That is quite a difference.
Tiger also has become a symbol for multiculturalism in golf, and his incredible talent and allure has drawn millions of people of all colors worldwide to watch and play golf.
Tiger has done so much for the U.S. sport, the international world of golf, because a lot of people say, I want to be like Tiger.
It's a big word to say, but they're looking for another Tiger Woods, but it's going to be a long time before they find a Tiger Woods because his father taught him everything he knew.
Nota Begay III is a former teammate of Tiger Woods at Stanford University and a 3-time college All-American. In 1995, he became the first full-blooded Native American ever to play on the PGA Tour. One of the few golfers ever to shoot 59 in a pro tournament, Begay, a native of Navajo and Pueblo descent, has won 4 times on the PGA Tour and is a role model for Native American youth nationwide.
Well, that was a good, clean hit, and it's a great line. What a shot.
Oh, this is a great shot.
In 1998, Se-Ri Pak joined the LPGA Tour as an unheralded rookie, and like Nancy Lopez 20 years prior, started out with a bang, winning 2 major championships that year en route to 4 victories and the LPGA Rookie of the Year award. During her 10-year career, Se-Ri has won 24 PGA tournaments and 5 major championships. Pak was inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame in 2007 at the age of 30. Se-Ri Pak's success has led to a Korean revolution in golf.
Victory number 7 for Lorena Ochoa in the 2007 season.
After a spectacular 2007 season, Lorena Ochoa is now the world's #1 woman golfer, only the 2nd Mexican-born player on the LPGA Tour. Ochoa has dominated the LPGA Tour in recent years, winning Player of the Year honors in 2006 and 2007, and amassing more than $4 million during the 2007 season, the most in tour history.
I'm very competitive, and I like that part of the game a lot. I dream high. There's no limits for the dreams, and I always try to do my best, every day.
Ochoa is a national hero in her native Mexico.
I'm very proud to be a Mexican and to represent my country and to be an international player.
When Rainbow on the Green continues, the quest for the next Tiger and Lorena leads us to explore golf programs that are bringing more people of color to the sport. With Lorena Ochoa and Tiger Woods holding the #1 rankings in the world of golf for 2007, the question of who will follow these superstars begs for special consideration. The challenge to expose more minorities to the sport of golf has led to the creation of numerous programs around the country supported by the PGA Tour, the LPGA, and the PGA of America.
It's important for our game to continue to grow, that we look more like America. And we're dedicated and focused on doing exactly that.
When I first came to PGA, one of the things we were concerned with was how can we create more diversity in the game. And since I've been here 10 years now, I've seen more people of color play golf. I've seen them integrate their social program into golf. So what we're trying to do is to create more of that type of growth.
Founded in 1997 by the World Golf Foundation, the First Tee is a national youth development program that nurtures youth by teaching a group of core values designed to promote success in golf and life through multiculturalism, honesty, goal setting, and sportsmanship. The organization, ironically, is headed by Joe Louis Barrow Jr., one of the most prominent African Americans in the golf industry, and son of the great Joe Louis, heavyweight champion and one of golf's true groundbreakers.
One of the goals is to really let golf more properly reflect the culture of the United States. Right now, 16% of golfers are from diverse backgrounds. The first tee is fortunate to have 50% of our participants being from diverse backgrounds, with 22% African Americans, 17% or so Hispanic Americans and Asian Americans and others. We're excited about that because we think that golf can contribute so much more to individuals' lives that we want to make sure that everyone who wants to have the opportunity to play and learn and enjoy the game of golf has that opportunity. And that's really the fundamental premise of the first tee.
On the collegiate level, the PGA National Minority Collegiate Golf Championship brings together 180 minority golfers from 38 colleges and universities to compete for national honors. Off the course, golf has expanded from minority exclusion to minority ownership, with more people of color owning golf courses and golf-related businesses in the United States than ever before.
One of my jobs is to figure out how to make those connecting points between minority-owned companies and the industry to start creating more sharing of that wealth among the ethnic groups.
The Oneida Indian Nation opened the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in 1993 near Syracuse, New York, and later launched the Atunyote Golf Course, one of the finest golf courses on the East Coast. In 2007, the Oneida Nation hosted the PGA Turning Stone Resort Championships, the first PGA Tour event ever held on Native American soil.
We're like unknown in the world. We're almost unknown in America. The stories about American Indian people have not been told. The true history about our people has never been told. So this is just one step towards people becoming more aware about who we are, the things that we do, and that American Indians in this world, in this country, and the kinds of things that they're doing. We're not just out of the movies or in history books. We are real people who live here, who have rights and treaties, and we're a living, breathing part of America.
Bull Creek Golf Course, located in Lewisburg, North Carolina, is an 18-hole course built on farmland owned by the Massenburg family for more than 80 years. The course has become a target destination for golfers around the country. Following a stellar Hall of Fame golf career, Chichi Rodriguez moved back to his homeland of Puerto Rico to build what he would call a legacy to my country. The golf course he built, El Legado, or The Legacy, is truly a testament to Chichi's incredible vision and love for his people. Boasting 4 top-caliber courses, the Innisbrook Resort remains one of America's premier properties. In early 2007, Sheila Johnson, a noted philanthropist and entrepreneur, and one of the most powerful women in American sports, purchased the resort and immediately began remodeling a property that was already considered one of the nation's best.
What she's able to demonstrate is that people, women, and also minority women, can get into the golf business as owners. And as an owner, you have a tendency to drive more inclusion.
I think the word out on the street was that the perception, and this is important, the perception of Innisbrook was that it was just a very exclusive resort where it was very hard to get into, and I really want to make this an inclusive resort. And it's very important that we do that because I want everybody of all gender or nationality to feel welcome to come here to Innisbrook. You know, as an African American woman, I all too well know about the exclusivity factor, and I think it's important that I send a message out there that this is really open to everyone.
I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven.
Outside the United States, another significant moment in golf history took place in October 2007, when the PGA of America held its first PGA Grand Slam of Golf event on the island of Bermuda.
Bermuda was a beautiful choice, and when you get the enthusiasm behind not only the government with Premier Brown at the head of that, the support of what we're doing, you add that to the flavor of the island, the energy, the enthusiasm, the warmth, the open arm welcomeness that has been displayed for us right here and our great champions. It was an easy decision to make, and we are so proud to be right here in Bermuda at this great golf course, Mid-Ocean Golf Club. So we're excited.
This is just a day for the history books. For me personally and for Bermuda. We worked on this for a long time. And now that it's here, it's showtime. And for me to have the honor to play with Lee Elder is just over the top.
I'm in awe. This is pretty surreal, to be honest with you. I just don't want to get kicked off the island.
The sport of golf has evolved into a popular recreation. With millions of minorities in the United States playing the sport, golf is destined for continued growth for the next decade.
Just from behind the desk here, the calls I get every day, the emails, it's a tremendous response from black women. They're taking up the sport later in life. Some of them are 40, 45, but they are heavily taking up the sport. And I even heard a number where golf is the fastest growing sport among African Americans. So with that in mind, and the calls that I get every day through the office, I can see that African Americans are very interested in playing this game and being involved both professionally and entrepreneurially.
The true success of golf's growing diversity will come with the increase in the exposure of golf and its diverse history to our youth, and by the creation of more opportunities for people to play the game and become leaders in the sport of golf, both on the course and in the boardroom.
I hope you've enjoyed Rainbow on the Green, our journey into golf, one of the world's most beloved sports, as we explored African American pioneers as well as present and future superstars. I'm Tim Reed, and history will never be the same.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back.
That's right, that's
it's
right.
It's going to be us. We can drink and talk shit as much as we want. Nobody can say anything to it. D.L. Hughley, Uncut.
And we're at it again. It's D.L. Hughley Uncut. Welcome to the show.
Why do you always get to do this?
Yeah, I do, because I'm the best at doing it. Duh.
Don't say that.
It's true.
Charlie lets you do it because he thinks I won't do it right.
No, that's not true.
I don't say my own goddamn name.
First of all, I'm just a better speaker.
Yes.
A better reader. Yes. That's all.
Look at Jesse
more
Jackson.
Animated.
Me too.
And plus, Indian Jay's here. Look
there
at his gorgeous mane.
Look at him. I'm sure I've purchased several packs of that hair before.
Let me ask you something. Do you believe that history is written by the winners?
It obviously it is.
Yeah.
That's the only reason we believe Columbus discovered it. Like, it's obvious. It's obvious.
Is. Well, that's what Barr said when he was questioned about, I guess, Michael Flynn being released from prison.
You bullshit. Let me see.
Well, check it out.
Motherfucker say?
It's a clip from CBS this morning, and of course the Washington Post. Check it out.
Are you doing the president's bidding in General Flynn's case?
No, I'm doing the law's bidding. I'm doing my duty under the law as I see it.
When history looks back on this decision, how do you think it will be written?
Well, history's written by the winners, so it largely depends on who's writing the history. But I think a fair history would say it was a good decision because it upheld the rule of law. It upheld the standards of the Department of Justice, and it undid what was an injustice.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Well, here's what I don't understand. This man admitted, well, he obviously did what he was accused of doing. He certainly lied to the feds, right?
Yeah, and he said he lied.
What I don't understand is how, first off, Barr has been called on by 2,000, former
members of the Justice Department,
right? To resign.
Yeah, to get out.
He's made a department that wasn't political very political. So he is, in essence, he might as well be Donald Trump's personal lawyer. He's his Larry Parker.
Yeah,
What he is.
Which is why he whispers, because you can't tell a lie
Right.
out loud. You have to whisper it.
That and the
Oh,
fact
that
he looks
whisper
like
talking.
Roseanne's husband on
Dan.
he looks like, but you know it's funny, like now they're calling this Department of Justice to investigate prosecutorial misconduct in Georgia, like letting
In the
William
Ahmaud
Barr
Arbery case. Yeah.
like investigate prosecutorial misconduct is like, why don't we let R. Kelly investigate sex trafficking? Why don't we do that?
No, I mean it's ridiculous, and the fact that obviously it's no secret that he will support anything that Trump does or says,
Right.
and we all know how Trump is when it comes to race. You know, my goodness, look at what he did with that reporter during that press conference.
But you know what? Trump would never pick anybody to a department that he couldn't manipulate or use in some way. He wouldn't do it.
No, he's the first. So George W. Bush, I believe, was the first president for the people who voted for him. Every other president before him tried to be a president for the United States of America.
Right.
And then Donald Trump took what Bush did a step further and said, I'm going to be the president for just Donald Trump.
Right. So, but ultimately, there was people pretended to have these moral standards, but now all of a sudden we have he's nakedly vague. Donald Trump, the Mueller report, he squelched it. He made sure that he cherry picked, and now he abets I don't understand how you expect us to believe in justice when you subvert it all the time. When you say, I'm going to make it be what I say it is. And we are now in a situation where we're supposed to believe a guy who laughed when you said how history is going to, I'll be dead. I might not even make it out of the room.
But the sad thing, too, is that we're sitting by, and not just us, but the people around him are sitting by and allowing this to happen.
But what is it, like the alternative is they basically had a president who was impeached. People are forgetting that. With evidence. He said, I did it. He said, I did it, and then first he didn't do it, and then it's a witch hunt, and then, well, he did it, but it doesn't rise to the level of impeachment. We can't have a justice when people don't have moral standards. They don't have the integrity. They don't have integrity anymore, so they can just do whatever they want. Yeah. They can make the rules up as they go.
Well, now if you look at the way the divide is, people just blindly believe him and believe what he does is right and believe everything.
Right.
And so then anytime you present facts or arguments that counter what he says or anything he does, people, fake news.
Everything's fake.
So then what happens, 20 years when we study the presidency? Is it going to be fake history, alternative history? What are they going to argue?
Well, let black people. Yeah, it's always been fake history.
You didn't know, Indian Jay?
Oh, but then, the name Indian was taken from my people for a little bit in
First
that
of
fake
all,
history.
your people? What are you talking about, Indian Jay? Your people?
Look at his two Indians.
Columbus
Yeah.
was looking for my people.
First of all.
So your people could get that hair.
Look great.
You know what? We're going to go to break.
Greatest.
Whoop his ass. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a 7-Eleven and a casino having an argument. I don't.
It's D.L. Hughley Uncut, and I'm still mad at Indian Jay.
Why?
He knows why.
No, I'm just asking.
Those comments
because
about yo people and
what,
we were here.
both you guys.
First of all,
Both you guys.
Can we just all agree that we're all disenfranchised Americans?
Right. Only you have better math scores.
Right.
That's not right.
Are we really better? Are we?
No, I don't understand why y'all get mad. Both you guys.
Well, first of all, the difference is dot and feather. You do understand that,
right? I'm not the kind who own casinos and bitch about the white man stealing.
So
I'm the kind who own motels and bitch about the Pakistanis stealing.
Right, and also profile black people who come into your store.
No, he just sells blankets. That's not right. We shouldn't have this.
These are terrible stereotypes that we are doing.
I don't know why anybody would say these things.
I do. And speaking of I don't know why anybody would say anything, why in the world would Donald Trump, during that press conference on the White House when he was talking to Weijia, I think her name is Weijia Jiang.
I could never pronounce that name.
Well, there you go. You're welcome. But why in the world would he tell her to go ask China when she basically asked him a very valid question?
Do we have the video for
I
that?
hope we do. We have to have this video.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Said many times that the U.S. is doing far better than any other country when it comes to testing.
Yes.
Why does that matter? Why is this a global competition to you if everyday Americans are still losing their lives and we're still seeing more cases every day?
Well, they're losing their lives everywhere in the world, and maybe that's a question you should ask China. Don't ask me, ask China that question, okay? When you ask them that question, you may get a very unusual answer. Yes, behind you, please.
What, sir, why are you saying that to me specifically?
I'm telling you. I'm not saying it specifically to anybody. I'm saying it to anybody that would ask a nasty question like that.
That's not a nasty question.
Please go ahead.
Why does it matter?
Okay, anybody else?
See what I mean?
I feel shame. I feel mostly shame. I think, you know, I'm a comedian. I take, you know, some liberal cuts at things. I can tell a crass joke or two, but I think it says a lot that you all of a sudden would like the things he does. I don't understand how he thinks that elevates America. And if you believe that that's what we're all about, and that's you know, he's antithetical to everything we say we are. And the fact that this woman asked him a legitimate question, and he went to where she was from, and he basically only did it when she asked, "Why are you asking me that question?" It's the same reason he asked that question of April Ryan or
Michelle Sindor,
or any number of people. It's because he believes that if you are a woman of color, that you are automatic, or a woman period, but a woman of color, you're less than. And the fact that his followers and supporters respond to that, if you still after all this time support him, you're a fucking horrible human being. I don't understand how you think you're not.
I don't necessarily feel shame. I feel anger. I feel anger because collectively, as the journalists sit around and they watch how he eviscerates these reporters, especially women, why do they continue to show up? It's not as if he's giving any information that is of value or importance. He's basically peddling false news, lies, and hatred. Why even cover it? What's the point?
I'm Googling eviscerates because you ain't going to...
Eviscerates. E-V-I.
There you go. Of course. Of course. Listen.
I was just starting to like you again, Black J. Don't ruin it.
Listen, Life of Pi, let me tell you something. We don't need...
He called me a life of pie, which is actually, that's one of the nicer terms. I found out that when I first came into his life, he and Gary and Lou and his entire crew used to call me Haji behind my back.
Not behind your back. Don't say that. That would mean we didn't mean it. Don't say that.
Unfortunately, I thought it was your real name. I did. I was like, I wonder what his last name is. Haji. Sorry about that, Indian J, but I did.
Do you think that it says Lyndon Johnson said if you convince the lowest white man that he's better than, you know, I'm paraphrasing, people, a black man, he'll turn his pockets off for you. I think that there is a faction of America that no matter what we're going through, no matter how bad it is, feels like if you make them feel better about being white and American, that they don't care what happens. And that's just true.
It is true. You can tell that by the COVID virus.
Yeah.
They know it's more black and brown people who are dying, but guess
And they
what?
don't care.
They're not doing anything about it. They've not launched any type of new, policy or procedure to kind of infiltrate it and say they haven't done anything.
Well, when the Atlantic published a great article and it said that once he found out who was dying from it, but the problem is that there are old white voters dying from it, and they're angry because they don't feel like their lives are over. Like, I know that they are consigned to the villages now, but but they feel like you. The problem is that if any group of people should sign up first to give their lives in the service of the economic power of America, it is the people in that generation who's benefited the most.
Right.
You can't think of anybody who's benefited more than America's past brutality and injustices than old white people. So why you mad now?
It's
just
true.
because you're in a wheelchair, you lived good.
And it's their people who are giving them
Right.
up.
You're right. Like,
It is
man,
their people. The Republicans.
it's a dude you went to high school with.
Right. Take him first.
But it's like interesting because his support around old people is dropping, and like why am I my support? Because they are
right. Old people vote. Old people make it up. They plan their day around voting.
The highest demographic than anybody else, and they feel like this is how you know how bad it is in America. Before we finish this broadcast, before this airs, there'll be almost 90,000 Americans died. It'll be almost double what died in Vietnam in 20 years, in 3 or 4 months. And we never have a national day of mourning. We don't have flags at half-mast. It is because of the type of people. It's the old, the black, and the brown, and the poor that are dying. And America's like,
They don't care.
Nana and Papa's bad, but they don't care. They don't.
Nobody's ever said I'm sorry.
No.
Our guest today is known as the human beatbox. His song Lottie Dottie, We Likes to Party is considered one of the most sampled songs in history. It's Doug E.
There he is.
Look at that face.
That's when black people get out of their chairs and white people leave the club. Here they go.
Yes, think they don't? Here go the darkies again.
Man, look at this nigga's teeth all fresh.
What? Look at his skin.
Fuck you, Dougie Fresh.
You look amazing. He looks 12.
What pandemic has he been going through?
I don't know, but clearly. Him, Smokey Robinson,
Right.
Don Lemon.
Right.
You guys are all in the same vein.
Man, the COVID doing us bad. You look at it's like a vacation.
Face all moisturized and tight.
Right. How have you been dealing with the shut in? Where are you quarantining at?
Oh, I'm quarantining down in Florida right now.
Oh yeah,
that's why.
That'll do it. Yeah. Right now.
You know the sun. I'm closer to the sun.
Right. So what does your quarantine day start like? What do you do in the morning?
My quarantine day is that it ain't in the morning. That's first of all.
Right.
Because you know I'm up all night.
Right.
And,
how can you be up all night, Dougie, when nothing's open? I mean, when nothing's open, how can you be up all night?
Well, you know, creatively, a lot of energy. I think it kind of, for some reason, I'm so used to being up in the night from doing concerts and shows, and you know, and then when you write music or song, it's all a nighttime thing, you know. So, you know, and I don't even really watch TV. I be looking at the days. I don't know if it's for y'all, but the days be going by fast.
I think he's a vampire.
I think he's a vampire. That's why his
God
face looks like that.
Look, his blade is what that is.
No, but he has a point. He does have a point. The days seem to go by faster and faster, and sometimes you wake up and you don't even know what day it is. Is it Tuesday, Thursday?
That's not
Don't
true.
act like it's just me.
I always
right.
know. I always know because it always feels like. Now I don't care what day it is, but I always know the difference between night and day. Always. Everybody ain't gonna look like him.
Nah, not at all. Because you stay up. Listen, you're on the road too, so you're up. You're up all night and sleep all day. But your face don't look like that.
That's not being disrespectful.
Hey, look, I'm trying to tell you, my day though, most of my day is based on, you know, honestly, just creatively, just working out creative things that, you know, I always wanted to do.
And now you have time to.
You know, you're put to the side. But the one project that I've been working on very aggressively is this thing I made called 20 Seconds or More.
Right.
Where it's a video about everybody washing their hands.
I saw.
You know, yeah, and that particular project was very important to me because when I looked at what was going on and I seen, you know, how just something so simple as washing your hands could save lives, I said, man, you know, let me just do what I got to do to make this happen. And it's harder because you can't get to nobody really. You
Right,
know what I'm saying?
right. Do you think that you're like, because music is really the universal language. Music, love, math, universal languages. So you took your skill set and wanted to reach the masses in a way that you knew that they would accept. right? You knew that they would digest, right?
Right.
So why was it important for you to do that?
Because, you know, I'm gonna tell you, D, to me, man, you know, I feel like if we have a gift, and I started very young in hip hop, and I came up under the pioneers, and I learned certain things that I feel like, you know, when you got a particular gift, and if you can use it in a way to redirect energy and get people to think a little bit differently, or do something that can have a ripple effect to save lives. You know, like we learned through dance and song.
Right.
So I looked at it and I said, you know, let me do something that we would normally do at an old school party. I was just sitting around.
Right.
And I said, just wash your hands, everybody. And everybody.
Right.
Well, you know what I mean?
Right.
I did it like as if we were saying, clap your hands.
Right.
And then
Right.
I said, if I trigger this thought in somebody's head, when they go to the bathroom, they might think about it a little bit more, which would save a life, because, you know, I know that the gift that I got is to help people understand things maybe in a certain way, make them feel better, celebrate life. I mean, we see certain things that people don't always see.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then we have the job of sometimes saying something about it. And when we say something about it, you know, people might take it a particular way, but the burden is, we know something that can help you. And if we don't say it, we're not even being honest with ourselves.
Yeah, if they listen to you doing that bit, if they listen to you while they're washing their hands, just if they, by the time they finish hearing you, they will have done what you. And I think that says a lot about our society, that they have. You can't be so on the nose. You can't be so direct. You have to, like my mother used to always say, I'm going to give you aspirin and oranges. I'm going to give you something you need and something you like. And I think that's really your approach here, right?
Right. It's basically having to utilize a different way of communicating, but to get the job done. And what I found out is that in doing that, like when you look at the statistics on what hand washing can do, it reduces the ability for coronavirus to have an effect 21%.
Right.
But you know,
so
I think
21% just from washing your hands.
But you know what? I think the great thing that you were also able to do with the music is, I think most of us were taught from a very early age anyway, probably all of us, to wash your hands. But I think it's the 20 seconds. And what you think is 20 seconds and what actually is 20 seconds, sometimes they're not the same thing. People think it's just soap water. You do a couple of times, you're done. And that ain't going to help.
Right. And you know what was interesting? When I called everybody, you know how sometimes when you get together with artists, they say, man, the bass is not right. Could you change the key? Could I get a little more music in this part? I said, we're not going to go through none of that. All I want you to do is shoot me a video of you washing your hands. That's it. You know what I'm talking about. But it could get so crazy that you'll spend so much time debating over the bass, the drum, the hi-hat, that instead of that, we in the middle of a pandemic. So if we could get your energy on this, doing something, people will follow. So when I called Jamie, when I called up Charlie Mack and a lot of the other people, they were just like, yo, that's all you want? So it made it easy for them to participate.
What does it say about you? And because you look brand new, but you ain't, nigga. I don't care what you say, you ain't. But what does it say about you? You have a pretty broad continuum of experiences. You span, you've had a lengthy career, and that at a time like this, it's very noisy now. People are very fearful. It's very fretful. It's a lot of uncertainty. But you found a way to be clear at a time when a lot of people aren't. That's not just art. That's a personal kind of tangible quality. That's a personal thing that you have where people can hear you and annoy in a space that's so loud. What do you attribute that to? What do you think that is?
Well, I personally feel, if anybody, for those that know me or don't know me, I've been pretty consistent in the way that I am. What you see is what you get, and I feel like, for me, you know, is these compartments are very important to me. You know, my mental health, my spiritual health, my physical health. And some people can't and also your financial health, which is something that is a whole nother subject, right? But
you live in Florida. We know you financially healthy, nigga. We know you.
Well, look. Hey, look. Some people are financially healthy, but spiritually bankrupt.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a word.
So the key for me is the balance of all of them, because, yo, you like me. We met a lot of people with a lot of money.
Right.
But their soul don't carry the you know, the heart and the spirit of just being able to engage and interact and still be happy about life, and your whole concentration is focused on that. So for me, I think one of the things that works for me is the balance between them all, and I'm always working to develop myself more. I'm always trying to learn something new,
right.
And I'm always willing to listen to somebody, another person's perspective, because there may be something about it that I don't know. And my biggest thing I know is that I know that I don't know everything.
Right. What are you?
You know what I'm saying?
What would you say you are? Like, what would you say you are? You're not just an artist. You're not just a humanitarian. You're not just a caring member. What are you? Like I never know. Like, if you go to look for music, you have to look under certain categories. If you go to look under, there's a level of specificity that we all need just to be able to find things or connect to things. What are you? Like, where's your hub? Where you from? Where you located at?
You know what? I gotta say this first before I answer that. Yo, talking to you is different. I'm gonna tell you something. Your questions are not normal.
He's not normal.
We're gonna keep it 100. I remember, let me tell y'all this before I answer that question. I remember up in New York, we was at Sylvia's.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I was coming out, and we was both in there because Obama won.
Right.
And we was up there, and I kept saying, man, it's shift to paradigm. We was like, paradigm, what is that? What is that? So he keeps it so real. And I was standing there, I was like, well, all right, well, let's talk about it. He said, we can talk about that later. That is, you remember that?
Hey, I do, man. I do.
Hey, but to me, I think that the category that if I were to be under anything is real. And that covers everything, because I'm going to be honest. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get an effect that's necessary for us to win. And I can't do that without being real. I have to be real to move. It's like somebody want to change in life, let's say. He want that change or she want that change, but you're not even honest about what it takes to make that change. So it's a certain level of realness I know it takes to make it happen. So if something is happening over here and we dealing with something political or something where I need to be there, I'm going to be real about what I feel about that. And I'm going to engage in that situation and bring what I think I can bring to complement what you do. Because I'm never going to try to do what you do, but I'm a very good supporting person at what you do. Or if I need to take the lead, I have no problems taking the lead. You see what I'm saying? So yeah. I think my
you know what I can say about you? I can say about you every time I remember we were doing that gig with Dave Chappelle when he came back. We were in Florida. I remember seeing you at Obama's thing after that. You've always been there's something about someone who is exactly who they are in every circumstance that lets you know two things. One, they're comfortable, and two, they use great moisturizers. This nigga's skin.
It's amazing.
I swear to God, who is... All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back.
That's right. That's
it's
right.
It's going to be us. We can drink and talk shit as much as we want. Nobody can say anything to it. D.L. Hughley, Uncut.
Hey there, welcome to D.L. Hughley Uncut. We're all in our places.
You do that with bright, shiny
I do.
faces. You do that
I like
so
it when
well.
you say that.
What?
When you say we're all in our places with bright, shining faces.
It's the only thing I remember from school. And after that, take your ass to the
Is that all you
principal's
remember from school?
That's pretty much
gonna
all
leave
I
that
remember.
alone. I'm not going to talk about that today. Not going to do it.
We're joined by Black Jay. How you doing, baby boy?
All is great, man.
It is.
Good to have you, Black Jay.
Thank you.
We had Lee Merritt on the phone, on the show yesterday, and he was talking about the case with
Ahmaud Arbery,
the young
out
man
of
who was,
Georgia.
and he was talking about the fact that getting a conviction in this case, because they're civilian, and that is a way of life in that part of Georgia, is going to be more difficult than actually getting cops convicted, which he's been successful in.
Mm-hmm.
And that really depressed me, because that really speaks to the way of life and the privileges that they believe that they have. And they really are of the mind that there is nothing they could do to us that would justify them suffering a penalty for
Killing a man in cold blood, broad daylight, and seemed to be pretty happy about it.
Yeah, all they
the
didn't
way
do,
that they were doing in the
all
truck.
they didn't do was hang him on the truck like deer hunter. That's literally all they didn't do. So, and one of the things is the grand jury. There were prosecutors who were reticent to bring the case because I guess one of them had been on the police department for a long time, and I guess he's still.
Oh, my goodness. This case was crazy to me. So basically, this was in Michigan, and a woman was upset because her daughter was turned away, a security guard doing his job based on the, policy about wearing a face mask when you walk into the store, would not let her in. So she went back, got into a verbal altercation with the security guard, left, told her husband about it, who he and a friend came back later and shot the security guard in the back of the head.
I think that they should get the death penalty.
Should.
Yeah. I do. I
totally agree.
I don't make any distinction between. There is literally no distinction in terms of the way I feel about they should be adjudicated and the men in Brunswick, Georgia. I think that, but the problem is that they were quickly brought to justice.
Yes.
And these other men are not. And I say this all the time. I wish America, the justice system treated everybody like they do black people.
Wouldn't that
like
be
everybody.
Nice?
Got to tighten everything up quick.
Man, I tell you what.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be nice? Because even in the case with Arbery, Mr. Arbery, the young kid who was running, think about it. Twice, two district attorneys decided not to bring charges. That means they had a full-on discussion about it and said, you know what, these guys were justified, and left it alone. It was another one who came in that decided, and that was probably because it was a video.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because
after
of a video.
Pressure. But that's happened a myriad of times. It happened with the young man in Florida who was killed for playing music. It happened with the case in Dallas that Lee Merritt alluded to.
John.
What he was going. So it's happened a lot where they go, oh, nothing to see here. Oh, they saw something. Oh, we better act like we care. And that's kind of really how it plays out. I'll tell you what else I'm bothered by. We know that the cases are rising and deaths are rising in the United States of America.
With COVID-19.
COVID-19. Right. And what coincides with that is the fact that larger parts of the country are opening up. One thing that's always bothered me, we don't have a uniform way of doing things. It's just kind of catch-as-can. It's like ad hoc. I'll do this and you do that. But one of the things that is happening is that because we've done nothing, we don't have a cure, we don't have a protocol, we don't have
a vaccine,
national order, we don't have anything. States are doing what they have to do because they want to open the economy, and they know that they're going to be deaths. But my conclusion is that they're not concerned about the people who are dying. Because if it's old people, black people, prisoners, brown people, and Latin people, they're like,
Right, that part's cool.
Yeah.
We don't need them.
Macy's
That's
will
what
be
they
open.
think.
Right.
That's really it. And they're very uncomfortable. Like Chris Christie, who's the Nougat-filled ex-governor of New Jersey.
New Jersey.
He said, well, we're going to have to set more deaths to reopen the economy. You know what I despise is that men like that who say shit like that know that nobody they love is going to die.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely right.
Nobody they love is going to die. So the we that they're talking about, have you ever noticed there is no spirit of mourning? There are almost over 70,000 Americans dead right now. Do you see sad people? No.
Not even Trump.
No. Nobody's
sadness.
sad.
Right.
Because the people that are dying are expendable in the estimation of this country. They don't really care that old people are dying. They will warehouse anyway. They don't care that prisoners are dying. They will warehouse anyway. They don't care that people are exposed and getting sick in meatpacking plants. They don't care that people in the projects and the barrios are getting sick. They don't care.
Not at all. And you can tell they don't care because if you think about it, Trump actually tried to use his executive privilege to say the people in meat plants had to go to work, but he wouldn't do the same thing in order to get ventilators made. How about that?
And it's amazing to me because now they say we're because they made those workers go back and risk their lives so that America can fucking eat.
That's how we are.
We have a meat shortage. And it's funny, Chris Christie, if we just stopped him from eating, we wouldn't have a meat shortage.
We'd be good. Wendy's be
Fat
back on
bastard.
point.
How is that fat son of a bitch even out? I know he has a pre-existing condition.
But that's part of his problem. He was saying, listen, I want it, if it's up to the physicians and the epidemiologists, we will be in the house for another year, and I don't think that's reasonable.
He can't even move. Be quiet. It's a simple rule. His fat ass definitely got a pre. If you can't see your feet, you should have your feet shouldn't see the street, fat ass. And we're not uncomfortable with people dying. Be quiet. You uncomfortable standing up, you fat bastard.
It's like watching my 600-pound politician.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
We got to get used to people dying. You probably do that every night when you snore yourself to sleep, you son of a bitch. The fuck.
It is D.L. Hughley Uncut, as usual. We are acting a plum fool. Well, especially you, anyway.
I don't know what a plum fool is.
You know what it is. It was nothing but a fool. No extra ingredients.
She's from Udawa. Plum
I
fool.
am indeed. Shout out to Udawa, by the way.
Doggy.
Summit. No, we don't say all that. You went too far.
Say
we don't say no we doggy.
I don't know what y'all say. I don't know.
To relax yourself.
I know they drive their houses places. I know that.
That's not true.
I know they do.
Only on Sunday.
This is my favorite part of the show. It really is.
It's quickly becoming mine.
It is. It's time for this nigga here.
So this, of course, is all about Mike Pence, who actually took some time out to go to the Mayo Clinic to visit. The problem is he didn't wear a mask. Now, the thing is, most people there were sick. All of them were sick with COVID virus, nonetheless. And he said, listen, the reason why I didn't wear a mask is because I wanted to look them in the eye.
Yeah.
And have a better conversation with them.
This nigga here.
Now, they told him you need to wear a mask.
Yes.
That's a policy.
Anyone
who comes into this facility, these people have pre-existing conditions. They are sick.
Right. The Mayo Clinic is one of the foremost medical facilities in the entire world.
Well, if it has clinic in it, you can pretty much guarantee somebody in there is sick.
Yeah.
So
well, I've been to a few of those, but
that's a different sick.
That's a different uncut. We don't want to hear that.
When you walk around that yellow line, you know somebody getting some pills and a shot.
Oh, God. But the crazy thing is everybody around him had masks on, but he did not.
Well, maybe it was hard for Mike Pence to put his mask over his beard. I don't know, but I'll just say this.
Don't do that.
I'll say this.
I mean, there's truth to it.
I think that it's disturbing that the person who was tasked to be in charge of the coronavirus task force is not even respectful of the law of the kind of edicts that they set down, the protocols they set down, and this idea that God is gonna. because what I kind of take umbrage with is that more people were incensed at black kids having a party in Chicago or Philadelphia, or 1,000 of them standing in line at a mall to get Air Jordans, than they were the president, vice president of the United States, who's supposed to be running this whole thing. Even Donald Trump is disrespectful of the protocols of the very committee he put together to kind of stem the tide of this thing. And I think children, there have been more of a big deal made about kids standing in line getting Jordans. You know, the reason kids are stupid. Let's just say that. That's why we have child-proof caps. like we have gates over stairs so kids don't fall the fuck down the goddamn stairs because we know how dumb they are. But they are, in essence, acting just like children, and so are the people who are in charge of our response to the COVID pandemic. And that is why we're in the situation we're in.
Well, the other problem is, if you think about it, I've seen a number of videos of police officers in various places tackling people of color, by the way, who don't have a mask on.
Right.
But Mike Pence can walk into a place where everyone there, pretty much the patients, are sick without a mask on. and then stand at the podium and tell us, make sure you wear a mask and social distancing.
And you're talking about policemen arresting black people with no mask on. That's the first time police has ever asked niggas to put masks on.
It's true.
If you're going to come to this grocery store, this bank, put a mask on.
Cover your face.
then.
I actually went to a grocery store and I saw all the women with masks on. I was like, how do these Arab dudes pick a wife? This is crazy. I don't even know how people look. Everybody's face is covered up. It's the problem right now, in my estimation, is that we have a very disjointed approach to a very serious thing because it's very ad hoc. This state is doing it this way, and this state is doing it that way. Like we don't, and it's almost like we know it exists and we know it's killing people, but how immature is it? You could tell who your leader is. You're so immature. It is the equivalent of when you were scared, you threw the blanket over your head and act like it didn't exist. That's what we're doing to COVID. We're acting like, oh, we can open malls up and we can, cases are rising, deaths are rising. It is spreading. We have no protocol, nothing to stem it. Our response was to stay in our house and wait it out and cover like, peekaboo, nigga. I'm still here.
Shark's still in the pool.
That's it.
And then when they get tired of that, what did Trump do? He said, you know what? Why don't we just get rid of the COVID task force altogether? Took some heat from that and then decided, well, maybe we'll keep it.
We're being run by children, and it's just like a meat shortage, and it's not even good food. If you eat enough of the meat that we're in shortage of, that'll kill you any goddamn way. If you need a key to open a can to get your meat out.
If your meat is in a tube.
Right. If you got to scrape jelly off your meat. And ultimately is this. It isn't that we have a meat shortage. It's that the bullshit meat they give us. The high-end meat they can't sell because restaurants are closed. And nobody's going to pay for that. So they're literally killing livestock. And I thought these people they're aborting pigs. I thought they were against
abortion. Depends on if it's pepperoni or not, bro.
Life begins at bacon. Like they would. It isn't that we are short. We are short of bullshit meat. Like we have a lot. Like but the meat that they need, all the good shit, the corn, the shit, the grade A.
But the other thing is, remember, the people who are working at these plants they have tested positive. A lot of them are getting sick, and you still want them to show up for work and prepare this meat that will then go into the stores for consumers to buy.
The one thing we'll never run out of America is people we can exploit. They are disposable. Just like we have big lighters, we have big workers. They're like, it ain't like we can't go down to Guatemala and get a dozen more, y'all. That's how they feel, man. It's crazy.
Just fire.
Welcome back to D.L. Hughley Uncut. And, of course, our guest today is Don. Oh, well, thank you, Charlie. He has been on the hit show Queen Sugar. And, of course, he's got a new book out called Male vs. Man, which my son actually brought. Please welcome to the show, Dondre T. Whitfield.
Oh, this nigga got a T on his name now.
Yeah, he got a T in there. I didn't do that last time.
I didn't know that. I got an accent on my name, too.
How you doing, Dondre?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You must be a New York Times bestseller. They only give you the T's and Ivan.
He all hell in typewriting class.
You can't put an accent on a name tag. I know that shit.
Well, you can when you're licensed. You do anything.
It is male versus male. Man versus male versus man. What's the distinction?
Simple. That males look to be served while men look to be of service. And I often
can you be both? Can they meld into each other once in a while?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think for probably most of my 20s and the first half of my 30s, I think I was sort of a hybrid.
Right.
Where, you are in this space of finding out why you're looking to serve yourself, because that's what you were taught to do, particularly when you come from some of the environments that we come from. And we've got examples of what we think manhood is, in the street. For some of us, think about it this way. Gangsters, that's manhood. Pimps, that's manhood. The drug dealer, That's manhood. Why? Because he can take care of himself. He can buy himself whatever he wants. He's got as many women as his heart desires. So all of those things really spoke to sexuality or maybe even masculinity, but they didn't speak to our manhood. Manhood is rooted in how we serve the women and children in our lives, not just our own. It's easy for you to serve your own wife or your own children, but what about the other women in your periphery, the other children in your periphery, in your community? That is really where manhood is rooted.
So the distinction is, and do you think that there are more males or more men?
I think that males are making more noise than men.
Right. They got a better brochure.
Absolutely. They got a better publicity agent.
Right.
So everything that males do, we hear about that every single day. You're not going to hear about what I do partnered with the same woman for 23 years, taking care of a 15-year-old daughter and 11-year-old son and uplifting and elevating my community, because that doesn't bleed. So because that doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead.
Right.
You're never going to hear about the work that I do. You're never going to hear about the work that you do. But you're going to hear about the males who molest children or date rape a woman or do the kinds of things that are putting our community and our society at a deficit. So they're just making more noise.
You know what's interesting? When I grew up, community was a much more narrow spectrum for me. Like when I grew up, my community was between Maine and San Pedro and 135th and Rosecrans. That was my community. And when you get older, you realize it's much more expansive than that, that we don't have to walk the same streets, even breathe the same air in the same cities. The community is much more expansive than that. And I think that elementally is that the village got so much bigger and so much wider and so much more depth and breadth than I was capable of even understanding then. And I think it's more important now than ever to see elementally all women, all children have elements of community that we need to respond to and adhere to, I think. So when you wrote this book, was that kind of your mindset, or did you just was there experience in particular that made you come to these conclusions?
Yeah, not having the benefit of messaging from my father. So I realized that, I'm 50 years old now. It's only been 4 years since I reconciled with my father. At 26 years old, after my father had spent most of my adolescence in jail, at 26 years old, I was finally advocating for the broken young male in me by threatening my father and telling him that I never wanted to see him again. And if I did, that something bad would happen.
I remember having that conversation with my real father. I remember having that exact same conversation with my biological father.
Totally. So I was done. And that was at 26. 20 years later, at 46, I finally reconciled with my father based on a conversation that I had with my daughter, who was asking me, do you know where your father is? And basically what she was saying was, look, whatever beef that you have with your father, don't make that be a beef with my grandfather. So you're cheating me out of another grandparent. And what I also realized that I was teaching my children was I was teaching them all of these great lessons: have grace for people, be empathetic, accept one person who you
fuck
deem
that nigga there right there.
Except fuck him. Exactly. And I realized that I would not be bringing great citizens into the world if I was bolstering that particular life lesson. And so I reconciled with my father because I finally realized this, DL, and maybe you had this, maybe you came to this too, with your father to an extent. I realized that my father couldn't father me because he was never fathered. So it wasn't so important for me to be a son to my father as it was for me to be, as a godly man, to be a brother to my father.
Right.
To give him grace and to give him the understanding. Like, honestly speaking, I think my father would have been a great man had he had great coaching.
Right.
I always draw this analogy for all the young brothers that I speak to on this subject in terms of male versus man. I always ask them, name me your favorite athletes. And, you know, many of them love basketball. So you get the same names, LeBron, the Kobe's, the MJ's, you know, the Zions, all of that. And I said, well, name me the things that they have in common. And they all talk about the same things. They had talent, they had drive, all those things. And I said, the one thing that you guys are missing that they all had was they all had coaching.
All of them.
Yeah.
From the time that, all of them, from the time that they play AAU, high school, college, and guess what? Here's the thing that we miss. When you go and you elevate, your platform is elevated. Like when you get to the NBA, you don't get less coaching, you get more coaching.
Right, right.
So you might have a shooting coach, a strength and conditioning coach, a defensive coach. You might have a mental coach. You might have a nutritionist, which is a food coach. So you're going to get more coaching, not less. So why is it that we know that you need to have great coaching to be a great basketball player, but we don't need great coaching in order to be a great man?
Yes. You know, and the thing about it is, and that's a perfect analogy, and the people who excel are people who can be coached. Like you could be, like you could watch the Last Dance. Michael Jordan he was a great athlete, but he became a transcendent player when he could listen. And when he could listen and absorb information, because basically everybody, you know, every athlete, if we're going to keep along that analogy, has the same skill set. They're they have physical strength, they have aptitude. It's the internal mechanisms that make us different. And so what you're saying is that the same thing applies to the male versus the man, that all of us kind of have the same raw tools. It's what how we choose to expound on. I think in our community that it is tough to make these kind of comparisons, because even though you're able to decipher the differences, a lot of people in our communities, a lot of men, young boys, think the loudest or the strongest or the most violent or the most is the male, is the man.
Right.
And
the man.
They do. Like, and so I think that's just a way of wiring that's so inherent to not just our community, but I think that the world at large, where Donald Trump is considered a man to a lot of people because he's very bellicose and ignorant, and he says the first thing, he's not a thoughtful man. I think all those things are more, the more erudite you are, the more thoughtful you are, that is looked at as more feminine to a lot of people. It's a feminine to think and to be patient and to be thoughtful and to be empathetic is something that would people would kind of push back against. They'd be like, But
I also think that has a lot to do with, and I'll say this from a female's perspective as well as from a single mother's perspective. I think a lot of times, you know, one of the most difficult things for me to admit, because I didn't want to be a failure at anything, was to admit that I could not be a father to my son in the absence of his father. But it was the hardest thing for me to admit, because I did not want to say that at one thing, the most important thing, I was successful in everything else, but in this area, I failed. But I had to be willing to say, for the betterment of him as a human being and as a man first, that I needed someone in his life. But it's very difficult as a single independent woman to say, could you coach my son? It's difficult.
So let me speak to that. I'm so glad that you said that, and amen, amen, and amen. So based on the two things that we just talked about, what you just covered and what DL covered, was basically speaking about how we get rewired, right? So when we are created, we're created to be our authentic human self. That is to be thoughtful. That is to be empathetic. That is to be grace, to give grace. We get rewired based on the messaging that we receive. So the messaging about what manhood is the messaging that we receive, which is, I got to be a man. If I'm going to be a man, I got to be loud. I got to be gruff. I got to be rough, right? For you, in order for you to be the woman that you are, or the mother that you were trying to be, in trying to create a son and transform him into a man, was the messaging that you received, which is, you are a woman, hear you roar, you can do it all by yourself. That is categorically a lie, okay? In order for that to happen, you have to be partnered. There's a reason why it took a man and a woman to create a child. Because in order to
Boone's Farm, let's not say that. And the backseat in Boone's Farm. Let's not leave out the run to the liquor store, DeAndre. Let's not.
Carry on, Andre. Carry on.
You focus.
He can't focus. It's uncut, Andre. It's uncut.
That was the male.
Right,
That
right.
Thank you for clarifying that.
So you had to go in thinking, oh well, look, since the dawn of time, women have done this on their own. Now let's examine that for a second. Many of our brothers have abandoned their post.
Period.
And left our sisters. Period.
Right.
They've abandoned their post and they've left our sisters to do it all by themselves.
That's right. And define what a man is.
Yes. Now watch what leaving it to do all by yourself has left us in. Look at the gang violence that's going on in our country right now. Every gangster that I've ever spoken to, from New York to Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, no matter where you go, no matter who you talk to, they're all going to tell you the same story about how they love their mother, about how much their mother did for them, about how much they would do for their mother, but they're never going to tell you how much they love their mother in order to stop them from gangbanging.
Right.
That's never going to happen.
Right.
So what does that tell us? That tells us that a woman or your mother is not the secret sauce to your manhood.
It also tells us this, that our ideas, our notions that we oftentimes live, and some of the things that broke us made us too. So there's elementally that thing. But our ideas, but to admit, it's what Jasmine alluded to admit that the way you were taught, that the things around you that you held dear, that the people that you held in high esteem, that the situations you once believed in and were rooted in were a lie. I think it was Mark Twain that said it's easier to fool people than convince people that they were fooled. It's easier, like even a clock that doesn't work is right 2 times a day. So you have to take all this systematic wiring and then say this, because it's difficult to change. It is so difficult to change and to let go of old habits. It's so difficult.
Well, first of all, it's virtually impossible to change if you don't know that there's something that needs to change.
Right.
So it's impossible to treat cancer if you don't know you have it, right? So if nobody ever teaches you that there is a difference between being a male and a man, most people have no idea. We have a branding issue in this country. I tell folks all the time, male is the gender that I was chosen to be, but man is the job that I choose to do. Those are two different things. As a man, that is my brand, right? I don't even want to be called male because that's the lesser version of myself, right? So think of it this way. If a guy date rapes a woman, somebody would say, man, I can't believe that man did that. If a guy molests a couple of children, they say, I can't believe that man did that. Well, if they sit there and they talk about me, partnered with the same woman for 23 years, raising my 2 children, uplifting my community, they're still going to call me by the same title.
Right.
We have a branding issue.
You know,
in
you
this
said something that's so
That's
interesting.
why we're so confused.
Because Jasmine said this, and it was something I really had to take to heart. She said, how come every woman knows a woman who's been raped, but no man knows a rapist?
How about it?
Not one. Like I couldn't tell you one. So every woman that she knows, and I think you said something like that, knows someone who's been sexually assaulted or raped, but no man, not one man knows a rapist.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do have a brand issue. Male versus man. Every time I talk to you, I want to talk to you more.
Man, I love you. And we had this conversation, obviously off camera.
Right.
But we said it. We're like, we definitely need more. We need more time together, bro.
Man, and that's from the man way. That's it. That's it.
Man
You're damn right. You're damn right. We're gonna do man shit too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back.
That's right. That's
it's
right.
It's going to be us. We can drink and talk shit as much as we want. Nobody can say anything to it. D.L. Hughley, Uncut. How dope is that?
This is funky.
It's all right. It'll do.
Like
Welcome to the show. It's DL Hughley Uncut, and they're acting up as always. Nothing new. All the time.
You know what I was thinking about? So now, I've been playing gigs. Like I was in Dallas last week. I'll be in Nashville this week. Or by the time it airs, I'll have been in Nashville. But the interesting thing is that people have a political interest in denying that cases of sparking of coronavirus is spiking.
Quite a bit.
And isn't it funny how the people who didn't believe COVID was real in the first place are now telling us it ain't spiking?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to listen to you when you were wrong twice.
You're right.
Exactly. That's like the broke clock is, even a broke clock is right twice a day.
Right.
Do you know why that's so horrible? It's because a clock has 3,600 opportunities a day to be right.
Yep.
Which means if you're only right twice, you fucking suck.
Or a weatherman.
Well, first
or
of all,
a baseball player.
You can't say it's not spiking if you didn't believe it in the first place, because now what you're doing is you're saying, well, actually it did exist,
Right.
But now it's not spiking.
Right. We live in and I got to tell you this, that this would only happen regardless of who you voted for or didn't vote for, whatever political stripe you ascribe to. No other president would be so connected to denying this.
No.
Right.
No other president would go. Most other even if I didn't like them, would go, I ain't risking an American's lives so I can be fucked up. This dude cares about one thing, and that's being reelected. So he'll deny and lie. The bottom line, no matter who you are, you have one obligation, the primary obligation. That's to keep Americans safe. Now, sometimes they've overblown the fear so they can give you safety in a way that wasn't productive.
So we can make you pay for it.
Right. But the bottom line is this disease is not playing.
No.
It is real. And we're even deciding whether masks are necessary or not. Like masks.
Because there's a bunch of guessing going on.
Yeah. It's guessing.
Here's the thing. If I could say one positive thing about Obama or any president, is that when you see them, subconsciously what they're saying to you is, I got this.
Or I give a fuck.
Or I
care.
He
I
ain't
care.
never said
He
either
ain't
one
never
of those
said that.
Well, he ain't
subconsciously.
never cared. He's never
No.
been in a position that he had to care about anybody other than himself. But I'll tell you this, I can't wait for that tell-all to come out by his niece.
Well, now we'll see. And John Bolton.
Well, they're trying to sue
They're
to say
not
that he
gonna be able
can't
to
release
sue.
his
They're not gonna
book,
be-
but we'll see.
Do you know why some people, the same people who don't like masks because it isn't you're trying to keep safe, it's other people, are the same people who don't want to not have assault rifles.
Right.
It's the same people who won't wear masks and don't believe in the safety of masks are the same people who want to have whatever kind of weapons they want. It's because I don't give a fuck how it affects nobody else. I want what I want. It is the epitome. Not wearing a mask, having to have these weapons are the same thing. They're an homage to your selfishness. Because you don't want to wear a mask, somebody else gets affected. Because you don't want to because you don't want to stop these weapons on our streets. Now kids are slain in their schools and they can't go to malls. It is really a testament to American selfishness.
It's the Christopher Columbus theory. Screw them. I'm here. I didn't really discover it, but screw them.
Right.
We need what we need. Screw them. That's why I say, you know why Vermont is so much smaller than California? It's because Whitey had no idea how much land there was.
No, but also this.
That's why the states get bigger as you go west.
You got to remember this, that Vermont, Ben and Jerry's actually, they actually came up with an ice cream for the protest, like a Justice Remix. Now, of course, you got to open with a Billy Club, and it can't be next to the Chunky Monkey.
Welcome back. It's DL Hughley Uncut, and today we have an actress known for her roles on Living Single, The Cosby Show, and of course a whole lot more. I could go on and on, but of course more recently, Get Out. She's a producer on the upcoming documentary John Lewis, Good Trouble, which will be released on July 3rd. Please welcome Erica Alexander.
Hello,
hey, girl,
beautiful. Hey. It is good to see you.
Gorgeous, both of you. You know what I mean? And sometimes you just check in every now and then to see if we're
Exactly.
Right.
Ain't that the
You
truth?
look like you're gonna make it, I think.
Well, I want to hear that.
Hey, she got my hair done.
Yeah,
Everything.
Your hair is
If
dope.
it had been a week ago, everybody wonder how she do it. Everything's supposed to be closed.
No. Mask. Mask. I had to. But Jasmine, you understand? I was about to get me some dreadlocks.
No, I know. Let me tell you something. I developed dreadlocks. That's what happens to curls when you don't get them taken care of.
There you go. So ain't no shame in my game.
I said, no, you did it. Listen,
Your hats too. You know, can I just say something? I am just so pleased to be here. I feel like I'm gonna cry because I am such a fan.
oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet.
I love your show in all its iterations. I love Jasmine is just so gorgeous and she's a real powerhouse. I love that you are a multimedia maven, and I just love you, DL, because you're the funniest person I know, and you're so friggin' smart. I just
Thank you.
could run for office, so I just want to give
Don't say
Thank you.
that.
Don't say that. you know, I get a chance to talk to you often. We I know we're gonna work together one day, but there are a lot of things that are happening. You know, obviously COVID, but one of the things I thought about, and I knew you were gonna be in the show. The producer of Friends apologized for not having any black friends. And the first thing I thought was, shouldn't they apologize for still ain't living single?
How about that?
Like, did you think, because I know, I won't even put that on to anybody else. I know when I saw Living Single, and then I heard about Friends, it was the same concept to me.
Yes, and you were right to think so. I mean, you are very smart, but it didn't take a genius.
That's what I was thinking.
The thing is, and Yvette Lee Bowser, who created our show, can tell you that even down to the fountain where they put, they danced and
I'll
did their
be there for you.
Yeah, she told me that they asked, or we asked, or I should say she asked to do that opening for us a year before, and they said no, it was too expensive. And that's why we're dancing behind the couch.
Wow.
Yes. So I guess when Friends, they probably said, we have a great idea. Why don't you go out and dance in front of the fountain?
And we'll pay for it.
Yeah. You know, black women, they want their hair will never take all that water. We can't do that. We can't.
Yes. Well, they were looking out for us. Thank you, DL.
Do you think now, because with all the stuff that's going on, you have, I'm sure you're aware of it. You're an artist. You're a director. Do you think that this is a better time for art? Because I think if Living Single were on now, with this sea change we have, it'd have a different reception. It would have a different exposure. It would be a different kind of a different apparatus in place.
Yes, I believe so. It definitely would be. I mean, here's the thing. We were all coming off of the great giant sort of rush from Cosby Show.
Right.
They really had thrown all their money and resources behind Black-themed sitcoms especially. And so, I'm a recipient of that in many ways, different world. And there were a lot of different sort of ideas around the youth-driven sort of look of Black people making it. So Living Single definitely had a great path. And I don't think we would have had the reception we had without Cosby. But then after they totally segregated television after 2000, and the only thing we were getting was, I think we got the Bernie Mac show and then Everybody Loves Chris. For the most part, sitcoms were dead. And I have to tell you, you know, you did your show within the period and all that. So I'm just saying that a lot of things would be different right now because Black people have a larger awareness. But I don't think we knew how good we had it because I think Cosby's show had done so well that we thought we would always have a place, at least in comedy. But we didn't because racism is so intransigent, it's so evil, and they'll undermine themselves, their own bottom line, to stop progress.
But see, that's what I think that to me just sucks because I look at now and I see a lot of the protests and you see all of the different generations and all of the white people and they're being so receptive and so open. And I think about all that they missed. You know what I mean? In terms of the shows that were available so that they could see us through more than just one lens as either the drug dealer or this or that, but to be able to see us as successes, to see that we were friends long before that, or to see, all of the other shows that showed us in a different light. They're open to those now. And there, at least to me, there aren't as many now as there were then when they were so close-minded.
No, there aren't. And in fact, they started to even introduce us in different ways like reality TV, which again, was a more cartoon version or harsh version of who we could be.
Yes.
One thing about scripted television is you're setting a path to how the characters will react. And yes, you have the strength of the star, and usually you're hoping that they bring in a whole market, and the way that, like if DL joins something, we know we're getting a certain sort of DL greatness. But, with reality shows, they were just counting on these people to ratchet it up as much as they could.
And that is to your point, one of the things that you were integral in, and you were there when it happened, Cosby made the world, it sent a lot of black people to school. They started going to school. They went to colleges because of Cosby in a different world. I believe that if it weren't for Cosby, there would have been no Barack Obama. So it introduced black people in a way that was foreign to them, and they embraced it. Then what happened is they went away from that, and whatever happened to us, whatever happened to black people, and the leap forward we had, you look at what Ellen and Will and Grace did for the LGBTQX community, because people got to see them and laugh with them and learn with them. And consequently, when there is only a depiction of black people on reality shows, fighting, throwing glass at each other, it becomes their reality. That is the first idea of us that they see. And I think that entertainment has played a role in fomenting the ideas that people have of us.
I agree. I think black intelligence scares the hell out of them.
I think so too.
And however they can marginalize and push that to the side, they will. I totally agree with you. And all I know is that black stories are the last bastion of how they can control not only our image, but how we're seen. If you look at what music and athleticism and all those things have accomplished, there's no place in the world that we are not in the forefront of those types of entertainment segments. But then suddenly our narrative stories don't sell. You can't sell those. Oh, that won't make money overseas. That's a lie.
Yeah, you hear that all the time. All the time. They're not gonna. They're even about comedy. They're not gonna get that overseas. They're not gonna relate to our comedy. Yep, you'll hear that all the time.
Yeah, that's what they'll say.
And it's weird because America's very funny. When I hear you say stuff like that, America will have a World Series, a World Championship with just us in it. We will have it would be just us. It's the world. But they don't take that same purview perspective when it comes to like us. If Detroit can play San Antonio for the World Championship and that's enough, then why wouldn't our stories, even if they didn't take hold in Europe, it's enough here?
That's the great lie. I mean, look at what Jordan Peele did with Get Out.
Yeah.
Boom. He didn't just hit him. He hit him with like a 1-2 punch and like created a whole genre just by saying, I'm going to put black people in it, and you're going to be in fear for their lives and for yourself because you know that person.
I think white people love the title. They've been trying to tell us to get out for a long time. They're like, I hope it's about these niggas leaving. Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean they're not leaving?
Right. But yeah, so I mean, all we can do is just keep being our great selves. But they have to fund these things. There's great stuff out there and people doing it, but they can't find the funding and the leverage they need in order to do it long term. So that's my goal, is to try to not only find funding for myself and what I'm doing, but also to create a way for others, because there's too many people out there in different age groups, because they love to say we've aged out of things. It's ridiculous, but there's this great amount of talent that just hasn't gotten their shot. So I think it'll change.
I'm going to say this. I think that this time, literally, there probably hasn't been this kind of civil unrest and awareness since the 60s. We haven't ever seen this. I'm talking about corporations giving people and investing in this idea of racial equality and removing biases. It's not just about how we're policed. It's about how we're denied access. And I think you have to be ready with a story. Like you were talking about the age of actors. Like I watched the Five Bloods by Spike Lee, and them niggas was so old it was ridiculous. It was like they survived that plane crash. I'm like, they won't even survive. These dudes couldn't survive falling off the curb. But the story was so dope.
Sorry, Delroy.
Right? Yeah, if I'd heard one more Delroy Lindo monologue, I was gonna kill myself. The movie was actually longer than Vietnam. But
every time it was too long.
It was long.
But you know, because there exists a Netflix and a director like a Spike Lee, those actors got to have some of the most significant work that they have in a very long time. And despite, you know, obviously I didn't believe that they were, I mean, they could have spent a little more on makeup, but they were so talented that the story still worked for me. So it still was artistically acceptable. It was a beautiful film. I got it. And to your point, it was people that they would have said, well, why don't you do this? And we can't do this. And no one's going to relate to a story like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you know, the thing about us, and I always say black people are their own special effects. We are so good at what we do.
That's the hilarious, that's the most funny shit ever. Our own special effects.
We
are. You can put a flatbed truck with a palm tree behind us. We call it Vietnam, and you believe it. So that's what they do. Action.
What are you excited about now?
You know, I don't know. You both must be really experiencing this yourself, like the great awakening of white people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm hoping. Actually, I don't like using that word because I'm not a hoper. I have a great expectation. Hope. I would like to see them carry that to something that's going to change things. Because even though black people will say, "Why are we looking for them to change things?" I said because they own everything, and it really is very difficult, even if you're doing your own thing, to go around these massive systems. So I'm hearing that they're having these talks. White men are having these talks about how they're hiring, who they're hiring, how they have contributed to these systems. Also, the first reparations bill in American history has been passed by an alderwoman named Robin Rue Simmons in Evanston, Illinois. I am making a reparations documentary about Robin Rue Simmons, and we have been for the past 6-7 months. And while people were talking about the 1619 Project, Nicole Hannah-Jones's project, here's this woman who passed after 400 years the first reparations bill. So they're just wanting to talk about it with H.R. 40 and Sheila Jackson Lee, but they're in Evanston, in the shadow of Chicago, you know, the redlining capital of the United States. This woman who didn't even know there was a national reparations movement did it.
Wow.
You know what's interesting? You say so many interesting things, but entertainment, telling a story in a way, because I think the one thing about this country that I've noticed is you can't be too on the nose. You can't be so specific. You have to distract them. We're a nation that loves aspirin and orange juice. We love saccharin. We're addicted to sugar because we like sweet things. We always want to feel good about ourselves. And one of the things entertainment does, it's subversive. It has a way of having conversations that people are uncomfortable with, in ways that they can become comfortable with. And nothing does that like art. Nothing does that like art.
Yep.
It was like, even when you look at the first time many people had heard about, Black Wall Street and what happened in Tulsa and how destructive that was. The first time they'd ever seen it was on a TV show. The first time they'd ever known what it was on a TV show. And
yeah, that's the enduring legacy of images, because that's how we learned from caveman time. Somebody drew something on a wall, and people were able to tell their histories. And that's what's so fascinating about the power that they've been trying to prevent us from having, not only to tell our stories, but to control the narrative that they for hundreds of years have distorted and destroyed. So you're exactly right that I believe that image making and storytelling will change the world.
And people play it cheap. They're like, oh, it's just a movie. Do you remember when I knew for sure, there were two stark examples that I have of how positive, how powerful image just can be. One was with the Cosby Show, and how black women went to school in large numbers, and they're the most educated segment of our population because they saw a different world. They saw you on the Cosby Show. And the other is, look at how black people felt after Black Panther. Look at what, I mean, they really started thinking Wakanda was a real place, and it's in Georgia. They really thought.
No, we did.
But it did something to them. It made them feel ways and believe things were possible they hadn't before.
It's true. I get this thing, I call it the Maxine Shaw effect. Because when I was doing that show, look, I was just an actress on a show, doing a show, sort of filling a contract and hoping that people liked it, keep my job. But then over the years, over 30 years, you start to get the young people who were younger than me and some who were right in the pocket of my age, coming up to me saying that they watched Max and Sean and made them go into law careers,
Right.
C-suites and all these things. And these people are not just anybody, DL. They're Stacey Abrams, Marilyn Mosby, Mayor de Blasio, his wife.
Right.
You've got judges, those 5 that were, I think they were elected in 2018 in Texas.
Right.
They run me down and say, your portrayal of that character made me think that not only could I do it, but I did it. I went and now I just graduated high school. You're looking at, you always talk about I'm a high school graduate, and that's it. And I appreciate my, degree, and I'm like, hey, I wish my mother probably wishes I went to college. But for people who saw my lawyer, my best version of my lawyer, which was just me doing my father, who was a preacher, and, mixed in with a few colorful characters like Red Fox and, and the Jeffersons, and, they looked at that and said, that's, and not only that, the hair mattered too.
Right.
And I got that from Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah.
I wasn't like first with any of those things, but it was enough to push that image over for them to feel like they were invited into a space that they could complete. And frankly, I'm amazed because I wouldn't have thought that.
But you know what, too, though? It's not just that. It was because I felt the exact same way. But what that character did for me was it made me know that it was okay to be in that space authentically as myself, like with the way that I spoke and the tone of my voice. And, I got that raspy, don't say anything, kind of deep. And I was very self-conscious about that. But when I listened to Maxine
No, Larry
speak,
Graham from the Manhattans. No, you don't have that.
it made me feel comfortable in my skin. I was like, see, I knew I could be smart, I could be sassy, and I could be right in my own authentic skin. And so I loved it. So I know, I get it.
Well, you said it much better than I ever could, Jasmine. And you're totally right. I mean, image matters. And if we think about the images that have endured over not only centuries since human beings started, when you think about the Jesus story, somebody had to write that down.
Right.
A writer,
Right.
Not not the people who were there. A writer, and they put it down so then people could read it and be affected by it. And so we're carrying in our hearts, whether you're a Muslim, a Jewish person, or whatever.
And you know what else they did? They cast a white dude as Jesus. They really did. They did. They cast a white dude as Jesus to affect an idea. You and Jasmine share something in common, and I'm not that you both were adopted, right? So what society would have you believe is that people who kind of start out, particularly black people, who have these strikes against them it's very rare for them to kind of ascend and to learn, to learn. And not only that, to be a teacher, because the greatest teachers you'll ever meet were they harnessed the ability to listen and to learn themselves. Yeah. That's why you guys are both so demonstrative, because you started from a place where you're not supposed to win. Yes. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you're automatically supposed to lose.
It's true. When I was telling Jasmine that both my parents were orphans and that I vibed them, it's because I understand their great sadness. I could feel it. It came through their pores. The oddity that they were, but also that they were their best hope for going. They couldn't think about whether somebody could come help them. I lived the first 11 years of my life in a hotel called Starlight off of Route 66. We were all in the same room, 6 brothers and sisters. My father had his first heart attack at 35. They told him that he wouldn't live beyond 17, so the fact that he lived to 52 was a miracle. But by that time, when he passed away, I thought, well, I need to keep helping my mother, with, she had 2 more children, I'm number 4. And so I just kept acting. I had gotten discovered in Philadelphia. He was an itinerant preacher. He was Church of God in Christ, AME. The German Lutherans found him. They sent him to the Lutheran Theological Seminary, and then suddenly I was in a big city. Suddenly the geography I was trapped in was taken away, and in a big city I had more opportunity. But I still had to go to the audition for this performing arts school that I was in. In the 5th week, a movie came to town, and they needed black girls, and they cast me. And I can tell you right now, DL, I did not know that I'd be the person they cast, because all these girls were so beautiful and they were demonstrably different from me. I was quiet. I did what I was told, preacher's daughter thing. But that was the thing that they needed for the screen. And I didn't know that suddenly my Arizona sort of quiet nature would transcend and suddenly lead me to Hollywood to be next to people that I don't only imagine on the screen. So those orphans, I love my mother so much.
That's, you know, it's funny.
She gave me everything.
Yeah.
And that orphan story is my story.
You all have managed to do something that's very hard to do. You kept your signal fire bright. If you ever trapped somewhere, one of the things you need to do is keep your fire bright so you can be seen. And you all have both managed to do it in a world that's very dark. And that's why you like you are, and that's why you can tell stories from that perspective. Even though she sounds like Larry Graham, that's why people can hear her.
You know what?
And you have to understand.
Don't be disrespectful.
This time is the reason why people are relating to you all more. And you have to be very careful and very clear about what it is. I mean, and I'm speaking to both of you all. I mean, I know we're doing an interview, but you have managed to keep your fire bright in a very dark time. And that's going to matter. Not only will it lead opportunities to you, but it will lead like-minded people in need like you to you. So I've always loved and respected you, and I am just. It's nice to see that light still ain't out after so many things. It really is.
To me, because I really just absolutely, I just think you're the bee's knees. So
well, tell it to her, damn it. How could y'all be abducted and so different? I don't.
Jasmine, you talk about light, man. Let me tell you something, sister. Just love you to death, and again, the great respect goes to you. Thank you for that, and I'm going to remember that to try to let the light shine, because there are many a days where you're just so tired.
Girl, ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Business. It's not even about the business. This life can beat you down, but sometimes even in the act of trying to achieve, you can feel like, man, am I really making, am I really doing anything? And not that I haven't been fortunate. I don't want to be like that. But if y'all, and I have to tell you how many things that you haven't seen, how many things that I have had to endure, whether it's bankruptcy and all these things. And I'm not a person that spends money on. I do have a gold chain right here.
She's like, never mind that.
Wait, they bullshitting.
Show them, girl. Shine.
She just didn't want to get robbed after the show.
That's why I know when I see people doing their thing, I'm so happy for them. Whether good, bad, or ugly, they try. That's how I feel about it. And Black people really don't get as much props between, maybe from the world, but from each other, I get the love. So DL, I received that like I got an Oscar.
All right.
Well, that's as close as I'm going to ever get to it. So I love you.
My culture's in the dark. My religion is a question mark. Where do I start? And that has stuck with me for 30 years. And he helped me answer those questions, because I realized that I didn't need to be religion. It was more about spirituality and knowledge of self. And he took me in a place where I had a starting point. And then from there, I went from studying 5% mathematics, all the way to 120. I didn't really, master it, but then it opened up the doors for me to study other things.
Yeah, Ra was funky. Ra was jazz. Ra was funk. Ra was street, ratchet, ghetto, knock a nigga, bump a nigga, slam dance and rub your bitch ass at the same time, stinking ass, blunt smoking, 40 tossing, fuck a nigga up all in one. Like Ra was the street. That was the street.
When somebody talked to me about Ra, he was a man child. Like LeBron James is on a basketball court, that's how he was with the pen.
Thinking of a master plan. Cause ain't nothing but sweat inside my hands. So I dig into my pocket, all my money spent. So I get deeper, but still coming up for lint. So I start my mission, leave my residence. Thinking how could I get some dead presidents? I need money. I used to be a stick-up kid, so I think of all the devious things I did.
I try to keep everything dealing with, reality, what I'm saying? Just things that take place. Like I can be riding up a block, somebody that's sitting next to me that's riding with me might
think it's just a regular block. But, what I see is like, I see the way a kid is walking up the block, and I try to think about what he's thinking about. You know what I'm saying? If I see a kid walking real slow, I can put it in a, rhyme form. You know what I'm saying? His feelings. You know what I'm saying? I can see an area that's like burnt down or whatever. You know what I'm saying? What I try to do is picture life before it burnt down and where the people that was staying there, what happened to them when it got, you know what I'm saying? It's like I try to look through things and, come up with something different.
Papa Griffin. Yeah. Man, we went to school together. He grew up in Wyandanch. Always lived right up the street, one way or the other.
And I always admired Griff, and all musicians. I wasn't a musician, but I was into DJing and things of that matter.
Rakim represents innovator, pioneer. These are the words that I think of when I think of Rakim. Legend, one of the first people to take lyricism to another level.
Rakim to this day, to people, is still one of the greatest MCs ever. That's enough said.
And now you have everybody trying to duplicate the culture and duplicate my era, meaning that your jewelry you wear, your clothes you wear, and how you wear them, haircut, the jewelry, your slang, everything comes from the culture.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
In the beginning, William Griffin Jr. was surrounded by music. From his mom's being a singer and his brothers playing instruments, it was almost predestined that he would have something to do with sound or music before the age of 12. Jazz music, break beats, keyboards, turntables was his introduction to music and flows of melody.
My brother played the piano, my sister sang, my other brother played the sax and piano. I played the sax and drums, so it's like, it helps me a lot when, I sit down and write rhymes. I know different musical backgrounds and things of that nature. And it just, put me that much deeper into it.
Me and Griff got together. He came over my house and saw me making beats. And he brought his saxophone. So I had scratches and beats and break beats. He had his saxophone. Eventually, at some given point, we ended up with a keyboard because Griff knew how to play the keyboard, learned from his older brother, Ronnie.
Ra, peace to the God. Peace to the God. Peace to the Griffin family. Peace to my brother, Stevie Blas.
Oh, man, what can I say about Rakim? I could say Rakim, I first met Rakim at 12 or 13-ish, about 12. Child prodigy.
I guess Blas admired what I was doing on the turntables. So Blas would come over, I would do some turntable stuff and teach him how to spin. And then eventually he would bring his saxophone over and I would scratch beats and run break beats. I would run break beats over his saxophone and then we would record that onto cassettes.
The Griffin family and my family, we're very close. The siblings, my brothers and sisters went to school. We all went to school together. Me and Stevie's a year apart. My brother Leo went to, and his sister Steph is about the same age. My sister Thea and Ronald, which is Rakim's oldest brother, is about the same age.
I think since I was young, man, because of the influences around me, my oldest brother was already out there in the mix. My brother under him, Stevie Blas, that's the one that plays keyboards, move the crowd and all that for me back in the day. Again, he played sax, my sister sang, so I was always around music. And, back then coming up as a kid, if it wasn't Michael Jackson or, Stevie Wonder or, Kool and the Gang,
you know, we was always influenced by what was going on, and we wanted to be stars, you know, at a young age. I know at least I did.
I was doing something with the turntable and teaching him how to mix, and he was showing me records they had. Their mother and father had an incredible jazz collection. And we decided to go to the store to go buy some beer. So we left out the basement door, went to the store to buy a couple of quarts of beer. At this time, they didn't have 40 ounces. They wasn't invented yet. And when we got back, my turntable was spinning. And I was like, Blast, like, well, we didn't call him Blast at the time. I was like, Griff, who been messing with my turntable? And he turned and said, nobody. There's nobody down here. Nobody will come down here. I said, I never take my needle and leave my needle off the little holder there on the turntable. And why is the record spinning? Next thing you know, we heard some feet shuffling, and this little dude went running up the steps, and we went to go chase him, and we couldn't catch him. He was too fast. And that's the first time I didn't meet him, but that was Rakim at 10 years old, messing with my turntable, which is why today I say my turntable was the first professional turntable Rakim ever seen.
Known as Kid Wiz or Kid Wizard at first, he had the ferociousness of a lion, but was smooth as a bird in the wind on the mic. Everyone from his hood knew there was something special about William Griffin Jr. Known to be the youngest out of his crew, the Love Brothers, he began to make a name for himself right into high school.
And Ra was, I gotta say it, I know this sounds cliche and corny, but from the beginning he was special. I gotta give it to him, and everybody knew it.
I wasn't just hearing 1, 2, 3, 4. I was saying 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and whatever. You know what I mean? So I started realizing, yo, if I can, you know, fill in all of this space with rhythms and you know, intellectual words that, you know, grab them and 4 or 5 syllable words and you know what I mean? I figured out, you know, I can make the same rhythms that he was making by using certain syllable words and using certain syllable words after each other. You know what I mean? So I took it from a flow and a flow and a blow and then gold and a blown and to blown down blown.
My first MC name was Kid Wizard, man.
Can write rhymes, recite rhymes so smoothly to the point where you would think that he was doing a freestyle, but it wasn't really a freestyle, but it was a freestyle. But he would write it.
You know, I just used to always thought if I can grab their attention from the first couple bars, then they'll listen to the rest of the song, you know what I mean? And also, I don't know, the beginning of the song, the first thing you say on the song is almost, you know, and that's every song, is almost like, you know, your first impression.
And my affiliation with some of the groups, the old school hip-hop, Groovy Chill, had some demo session with Rakim, plus, you know, the music. He was in the hood rapping, Kid Wizard.
Rakim, as growing up, got with a few dudes that were neighbors with him. G-Stro.
Well, that's what I was hearing. G-Stro, him and Cool Breeze.
Stephen Pye was the Snake. Ron Drew.
Ballin, it was the DJ. And,
So when they got with Cool Breeze and the Love Brothers, it was like, you know, Cool Breeze had the system, he had the popularity, and the MCs, and it was like that was a lot to deal with. And Ra was probably like 13 maybe, barely 14 if that, and that's where that crew was like this. They took over the whole area. See, the thing about it too, like I said before, if you had a pass, like Amityville was doing their thing, Wine Dance, we was doing our thing, and the two parks and the 2 days you would do it at is Amityville Day and Wine Dance Day.
everybody knew that there was backyard parties, and they knew they would wait for him to get on that mic, because I know he would destroy it. You know, they knew he was going to say something innovative, and he was ahead of his time. You know, he wasn't a guard then. He was the Kid Wiz at the time. You know, he was young. He was running with a lot of older dudes that was maybe 2, maybe 3 years older than him at the time. And he was doing things that maybe at his age he shouldn't have been doing.
It was like you knew Rakim was coming out with some new gear or some new whatever, or you knew Cool Breeze was going to bring a new record, or you knew Almighty G-Stro or Blade or Snake or Ron Drew. They was going to do something that they would attract 1,000 people in the park by themselves, because you want to know what they was doing, you know what I mean? They was like the next thing, you know? So, yeah, they was a serious crew.
When I started hearing him on the radio, and at the block parties back then, you know, I was like, man, this kid's nice. And I wanted to be so much a part and give my contribution into hip-hop, into the hip-hop culture, you know. I was like, yo, this dude, man, he might be, yo, he could do something. He could be something, you know.
Can write rhymes, recite rhymes so smoothly to the point where you would think that he was doing a freestyle, but it wasn't really a freestyle, but it was a freestyle. But he would write.
I hold the mic as hostage, MCs as ransom. Rhymes are punish him because they don't understand them. I heat up his brain, then explain, then I hand him a red hot microphone. That's how I brand him. Rhymes fall in formation, unite and ignite. Like a platoon putting bullet wounds in the mic. If you curse me, it ain't no mercy. Give him an autopsy, killed by a verse of me. I took a kid and cut off his eyelids. Kill him slow so he can see what I did. And if he don't understand what I said, I'm pushing his eyeballs way to the back of his head so he can see what he's getting into. A part of the mind that he never been through. The journey is coming because you're getting sent to a place harder to find, but it's all in the mental. I run a brain scan to locate his game plan. When I'm through with his brain, he ain't the same man. Did he lose his mind or lost in his mind? But this ain't the lost and found because you can't find.
So, in stacks and stacks of books, he would have stacks and stacks. He'd be this right. And when he pulled one out on you, it's a problem.
What I do when I'm writing, I'm putting down my life, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I don't believe in writer's block, so when I get to the point where, you know, I'm getting slow on the ink, I just put the pen down, then I go back out in the world and live. So, you know, I'm not rhyming, I'm just thinking, you know what I'm saying? So when I get back to the paper, I got more life to put down.
But he had done something, man, and it was a different thing he was doing, and he blew me away. I could never rhyme in front of him again after that. So he started to grow in popularity in the neighborhood. Those tapes that I made was circulating around the neighborhood.
The Love Brothers was a crew that helped Rakim sharpen his skills on the mic and develop that slow flow that is his trademark. Not too long after that, he would experiment with recording demos with local neighborhood producers and childhood friends, DJ Maniac and Nate Tinsley, along with Rakim's older brother, Stevie Blas.
We was producing music on cassette tapes. We couldn't get our hands on like a 4-track recorder or nothing like that. All of that stuff was a little too expensive at the time. We couldn't afford it. So, you know, we just did our thing. And there was a couple of other people that was involved, like Nate Tinsley.
That was his thing, you know, the God MC thing is basically it's real, original man talking the birthplace. And I looked at that heavy because when you find yourself, no matter where you are, it doesn't matter Africa or the tip of the wherever you find yourself and that real self comes out, you know it. You met it. That's the new birthplace of original man right there. You know, so it happened in Wine Dance for some of us. You know, that's the birthplace, man.
When I talk about him, his charisma was like, he just had a whole way of doing his thing. So the things that he would do and say was just totally different from what everybody else was doing.
You know, some time went by, a long time had gone by, and Rakim was in high school at this time, And he used to stop over every now and again with a couple of his friends, you know, because I had my music set up in the basement, and they would listen to music, and we would, you know, drink and chat, you know, smoke a little something. And one day, I hear knocks at my window, or at my door rather, because my bedroom was on the second floor. I look out my window, it's Rakim, he's by himself. I'm like, what's up? He's like, yo, you gotta help me, man. I got this melody in my head, I gotta get it out.
But at the same time, like I said, he was serious about it. He loved hip hop, and you could tell at an early age that he was not messing around. He was just had a talent to rhyme. He was God's gift.
Came downstairs, had my equipment set up in the living room at this point, let him in, and he started humming this melody. He was like, can you play that? I'm like, of course I can play that. I mean, your brother taught me how to play the keyboard. So I said, it goes like this.
Eric B in the crib, took him downstairs, a little basement area Mom and Pop had hooked up real nice. Throw the joint in. And there was like a long version of my melody. You know what I mean? So Eric B heard it.
Hold on, what beat? Who did the beat?
His brother played on it.
Oh, your brother played my melody.
Yeah, we used to go to my man Maniac house, this kid Paul Garrard, big up to Maniac. We used to go to his crib. He had like a nice little setup where we can kind of make little beats, you know what I mean, Casios and, you know, shit like that back in the day. But it was nice, man. But, you know, we used to go over there, do my little thing.
He kept going, do, 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 do. So I just found the keys, played it. I said, is that it? He was like, that's it. So I recorded a beat from a Boss Dr. Rhythm along with the keyboard part. We recorded that onto a cassette. Then we took the cassette and put it into a player, another cassette player, played it through the mixer again onto another cassette that was recording, and I added scratches, and he rhymed over this echo chamber. And there you have the melody. The melody was made in my living room with me and Rakim that morning.
During Rakim's high school years, he developed a relationship with another budding Long Island rapper by the name of Biz Markie. The two would forge a friendship based off their love for clothes and music.
If you know this is close, you're gonna fall in the trap. Oh yeah, what do you need with the likes of him? One who knows the rhyme and any old sin on him. Got hair so baby, you can almost swim. By the first scripture, you can tell us Rakim. Take 7 MCs, put them in a line. Add 7 more brothers, you think they can rhyme. It'll take another 7 before I go for mine. Now that's 21 MCs, ain't a bad the same time.
But Wyandanch High School, do you remember this?
Word up, word up. And what's dope is Biz Mark used to always come out to Long Island to our high school, man. He would come up in the school, and the security guards would try to kick him out. So I had a little juice. I was like, nah, he good, man. He just came up here. I'm taking to see the band teacher, man. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, me and Biz back in the lunchroom, he beatboxing and I'm rhyming.
Biz Mark would convince Ra that to totally test his skills, they would have to go into the concrete jungle called the 5 Boroughs.
201 Uptown, one of the high schools there, and Biz invited us out to this battle.
Battling at the high school, battling in Harlem. So I started, you know, incorporating battle rhymes. And like this right here, most of that was freestyle.
It was Rakim, myself, my man Scully, my man Mike Mitchell, and Biz.
Like whenever I would get down with Biz, we just rhyme off the top of the head. And then you throw a couple joints you had made already in there.
Dougie Fresh goes in there, and you know, you got Rob Bass in there before you made records, and had all the Uptown cats that was, you know, that was live, Eminem, Kid West, you know, so, you know, these cats we heard about, but we never seen. So we was like just playing in the cut.
You know, I met Biz like, you know, early 80s, man. He came out to Wyandanch and had on some painted shell tops one day. I had to paint the shell tops on.
Dougie was here, Biz was here. So it's you know, competition there. So all of a sudden, it was Biz's turn to get on, and Dougie Fresh started basically dissing Biz on the mic. And we was like, word? It's dissing Biz? Nah, that's our man. Nah. You know, listen, we gonna do this. We gonna do this. So Rod's sitting there in the cut like, just perusing everything, just building up. And he like, yo, B, get that impeach the president ready. Get that impeach the president ready.
Started talking, and before I know it, I found out he rapped. He found out that, that I rap. So, we start kicking it.
Barry B just shoves the headphones in my chest, kind of like, and I'm like, whoa, for real? Okay, now I'm hot now. I'm ready to cut it up on somebody, getting ready to slice somebody up. So, Rob was like on some, let's go. He jumps up on the table, on a small little table, and he goes, he says one of his intros, and then in the bass, come on, Super B, let's dog the pace. Yes, sure, boom. I throw that record in, and when all of a sudden, he did the 7 MCs in a line rhyme, and everybody was just stuck on stupid. That's when I was starting to do a lot of battle rapping, and that little 7 MC theory just came into play. It was just like everybody was like, yo, who is this dude? Who is this dude that just came here in Uptown and shook everybody up? Not only shook everybody up, he had everybody's girl.
Rakim had another childhood friend by the name of Alvin Toney, who had already reached success at the time in hip-hop by his association and relationship with EPMD. Eric B happened to come to Long Island looking to sign the next big act and asked Alvin for his advice. 2 names came up, Rakim and Freddie Fox.
What I was going to do was, when I first started, we used to go to Tri-State. We used to Connecticut, New Jersey, New York. So we used to play, we used to go every street team. We take T-shirts, buttons, hats, jackets, and, give them out to the neighbors and promote BLS. So I was going to do a record. I was going to do an album called The Tri-State, and just go, because in Connecticut I used to find rappers that were nice, in New Jersey and New York. So I was going to just take a rapper from, all these different boroughs and the Tri-State and put them together and do an album.
Like a compilation album.
Of course.
Right.
Then wind up going to Long Island, and Wine Dance just kept, every weekend they would call, oh, we want Eric to come back. So I played, because you literally, right. Every week I would play another street in Wine Dance. Right. It was the most ridiculous thing in the world. So every week I'd be on this street, that street, every weekend in Wine Dance. So I met a guy named Alvin Toney.
Alvin, he might have had something to do with that, because he's, very influential in certain aspects in the game for a minute. A lot of stuff with EPMD.
It's possible, because I think Alvin Toney knows Freddie Fox.
He was managing them and Craig Mack, but
a friend of mine named Alvin Toney, was with Eric, and he mentioned to Eric was like, yo, take me to, the MCs out here that's dope. I want to meet the dope ones, the ones that's nice, because I got a project I'm working on and blah blah blah.
Alvin Toney told me, Eric, we got rappers out here. Rappers and what? Man, Alvin, cut this shit.
This is Long Island. I mean,
are you serious, man?
There's no rap in Long Island.
No.
Alvin took me over there.
He said, I know a kid that could rap?
Yeah, he took me to people's house. Took me to Freddie Fox's house.
Well, I was driving through Wine Dance, and Alvin flagged me down, and he had Eric with him. And he was like, yo, man, this is Eric B, and he looking for somebody to do this project with him.
He said, nah, Eric, I'm telling you, these guys are nice. I got this now, Freddie, man. Went over to Fox's house first, and he was telling Eric, man, he's the man. I'm telling you, he's the man. Then we went over to Rakim's house.
Cat on my football team, Alvin Toney, brought Eric B to the crib and was like, yo, this is Eric B. He looking for an MC. And, me being a little arrogant dude, I'm sitting there looking at Eric B like, yo, Al, man, I'm about to go to college to play football, man. What you bringing this dude over? I told you don't be bringing nobody to the crib, man. But he's like, yo, he know Magic and Marley Marl, and you know what I mean? So I was like, all right.
Just start talking, he was home. We start talking and going, back and forth, about different things. I'll never forget, when I went there,
They used to call him Pop.
Right.
So up on the wall, he had wrote Rakim on the wall. I'll never forget this. In this room, he used to write stuff on the wall and wrote Rakim. I was like, yo. He was like, yo, I'm studying. You know, I'm a 5%. I'm studying.
I'm studying my lessons, right?
Okay. You know, then that's the name we went with.
Right. Eric B. and Rakim.
Yes.
Because the DJ always came first.
No. Actually, Rakim made up the name of the group.
Really?
Yes.
Eric B. used to be my roommate. We used to see a lot of artists come through the studio and become stars. So when Eric B. was scheduled to bring in his first rapper, guess what? His first rapper never showed up. Somebody told me that was Freddie Fox that was supposed to show up.
Then I told him, I said, okay, cool. So being that I was in a group, I was like, okay, we'll be there. You know, we'll be we set up a meeting. I said, we'll be there. He's like, well, who's we? I was like, me and, you know, the other two cats that I rock with. Eric was like, well, I just need one of y'all. So I didn't cancel the meeting, but I didn't show up because I felt like if he wasn't going to take all of us, it would have been kind of whack for me. I didn't want to bounce on my guys like that. So I kind of just didn't show up.
But the next day, a rapper did show up. And that rapper that showed up, his name was Rakim.
So that initial meeting is what got Rakim and Eric B together. They would take previous demos that Rakim made to the studio to show Marley Marl.
At some point, I guess Alvin Toney ran into Eric B. Freddie Fox must have missed the boat because the rumor has it that he was supposed to show up at that meeting. He didn't. Rakim showed up, and I guess he brought that tape of the melody because Eric B had to hear something.
When I first met him, I was in a maze. He did this record that was 90. We had those Maxwell cassette tape, and he had my melody on it, and he rhymed for about 90 minutes on it. And I got the original cassette. I got to find the original cassette because the record is the cut down edited version of my melody because he rhymed for about 90 minutes on the tape.
So they took that tape of the melody and brought it to Marley Marl. So Marley Marl recreated the melody off of what I made. Me and Rakim made the melody.
Now, when Rakim first came to the studio, we made a song called My Melody First.
Turn up the bass, check out my melody, hand out a cigar. I'm letting knowledge be born, and my name's the R. AKA I am not like the rest of them, I'm not on the list.
It was real slow, down tempo, the energy really wasn't there, and me and Eric had an idea.
So you trying to say that before you was so he had the beat before you then?
He had the song.
He had
the song, yeah, and he had music to it. He had the song and had the music already done.
The melody that you hear is pretty much just about the same thing. Because Eric B kind of copied my scratches and everything.
Turn up the bass, check out my melody, hand out a cigar. I'm letting knowledge be born, and my name's the R. AKA I am not like the rest of them, I'm not on the list. That's what I'm saying, I drop lines like a scientist. My melody's in the code, the very next episode has the mic off and distorting, ready to explode. I keep the mic at Fahrenheit, freedom sees to make.
So check it out, and out a cigar. I'm letting knowledge be born, and my name's the R. AKA I am not like the rest of them, I'm not on the list. That's what I'm saying, I drop lines like a scientist. My melody's in the code, the very next episode has the mic off and distorting, ready to explode. I keep the mic at Fahrenheit, or colder than a polar bear. But measure with the heat that's made by solar. Yeah, I'm memorizing advertised like a poet. You know it when the flow is smooth enough. You know it's a rough. That's why the bureau of my story I never be. Nobody beats the R. Check out my melody.
There has been a lot of speculation on the production of Rakim's early records, Check Out My Melody and Eric B for President, regarding who produced or who arranged the records. What we do know is everyone has their own version of how it went down.
Well, one day, him and Eric B, this is when I first met Eric B. I brought Eric B by the house. I used to live out in Wyandanch. And I had the studio downstairs. He come by one day. And he had them. They had an idea already. They wanted to hear a bass line from like Funky President, and then they wanted the beat, the drum from that, and they wanted the bass line from Over Like a Fat Rat. It was like that was his idea already.
It's so funny that I look at on the internet and I see Marley Marl doing this whole tutorial talking about how he made the record. He is totally right that he was the engineer and that made the record. And I say this is so funny. When I got the record, I had the 2 records. Never forget, I'm in Rakim's basement, and it's me, Rakim, Stevie Blast, and they're drinking Ballantine Ale. I can remember it like it was yesterday. So I told Rakim, I said, what I was going to do. I said, this is the beat I'm going to use, the president, James Brown, the president, and then I'm going to take a bass line and put it on top of it. Rakim spit the beer all over his mother's basement, laughing. I said, I'm going to take something like Vonda. I'm going to do my own interpretation of Vonda Over Like a Fat Rat.
And then, you know, we laid that down with the little sequence and stuff I had back then.
He said, let's use the bass line from Fonda Ray's Over Like a Fat Rat. Now this record right here was a hot joint in the clubs. It always worked when you threw it on. The crowd would always go crazy. And I suggested that we use Funky President beat because I already knew that James Brown was always a hit when you sampled it or played it in hip-hop parties.
We were laughing, and I remember telling Rakim, this is how Paid in Full came, and I said, all right, Rod. I said, I want you to laugh like that when you get paid in full. And that's how the album name came, Paid in Full, and we used to laugh all the time. He said, all right, we're going to see what happens. So what happened was I remember taking the records to Dougie Fresh, and Dougie Fresh used to sit there and go, I don't know, Hops. We're going to see what happened, Hops, and see how you put this together. You know how Doug talk with the raspy voice. I don't know, Hops. I don't know if you're going to pull this one off, Hops. We're going to see what happened. So I went to Marley's house because he was the engineer. Like Mr. Magic used to call him the engineer all-star because he was the engineer. So I paid Marley to do, because I didn't know how to, work the equipment, but I had the ideas and I knew exactly what I wanted done. So I gave him the records. I said, this is what I want done. That's what I want. Marley has no publishing, no nothing on the record. So you want me to tell me that Marlon just gave me the record and he was scared of me, so that's why come on, man. He knows what it is. Me and Rakim work together as a team. You know what I'm saying? And that's why if you look at all the records that he's done since then, you know what I'm saying, you don't get that same feel.
Not
because we work together as a team. This is the truth.
Have you spoken to Marley about this?
No, I don't even. Every time I see Marley, I'll be so upset. I just want to choke the shit out of him. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, come on, man. We on the same team. You know what I'm saying? We brothers. We shouldn't be fighting with this silly shit. This is a lie. All you got to do is see Stevie Blast, Rakim's brother. He'll tell you. That's where I got the records from. You know what I'm saying? That's why I got that idea. He told me, Eric, please don't abandon the plan. And that's why he doesn't get royalties. I mean, it's the same argument that Big Daddy Kane had with him and the same argument that Bismarck had with him. You can ask either one of them. They had the same argument. You know, this back and forth bickering, you know what I'm saying? This is 30 years later, and we're still talking about this shit.
So I told Eric, I didn't really want to do it. So he was like, yo, we can do it where you don't have to sign a contract. That's why if you ever seen the first record, it was Eric B featuring Rakim. Feature where you don't have to sign no contract. I was just a featured artist.
There's a story that that I've heard with Marley Marl when they recorded it in Queensbridge.
Now, you recorded this at Marley Marl,
no doubt,
his house, right?
No doubt.
In Queensbridge.
Queensbridge, yes, sir.
In his apartment. Now, what happened when you went in to deliver the rhymes?
They bring Rakim over there, and they's in Marley Marl apartment, and MC Shan is there. Like I said, he had the hype rap style. MC Shan, the bridge.
Because Marley's there, Eric B's there. Right, is Eric B there? Or is this Marley?
Yeah, me, Eric B.
And MC Shan.
Yeah, well, Shan actually came later. Okay. We get up in Marley house, and we hooked the beat up. Marley helped us program the beat. And then sitting on the couch similar to this right here, chilling. You know what I mean? 17 years old. Sitting on the couch. Well, you know what I mean? I definitely appreciated being in Marley Marl crib, but you know what I mean? Chilling. And when it came time for me to start rapping, the studio was just like this. Had a couch in it. Marley's equipment was over here. he had the reel of rails right in front of me.
Rakim gets up there and record.
Now think about it. We're sitting back in the day with a little bit of sampling time, 4 tracks in a living room. Since there was limited to 4 tracks, we had to put the hottest things on those 4 tracks.
Couch is right here. He handed me the mic. Turn up the bass, check out my melody, and he was like, yo, man, why don't you stand up a little bit?
With a real smooth flow, we didn't know what was about to happen to the rap industry at that point.
I said, for what? He was like, yo, put a little more energy in it. I was like, nah, man, I don't want no more energy in it. I'm trying to, that's how I want it to be, right here.
That's it? That's how you rap? That's, what kind of rapping is that?
Now, when Rakim first came to the studio, we made a song called My Melody First.
Turn up the bass, check out my melody, hand out a cigar. I'm letting knowledge be born, and my name's the R. A.K.A. I am not like the rest of them, I'm not on the list.
It was real slow, down-tempo. The energy really wasn't there.
So, he turned around, all right, so we start recording again. So I do like two verses, and then all of a sudden Shan comes in the room. So Marley turns and talks to Shan for a quick minute, and then Shan turns to me, yo, Lord, you think you could put a little more energy in it, man, Shan? I'm like, yo, Shan.
He didn't understand that you just seen the future of rap, period. You know what I'm saying? So, because they were used to the, you know what I'm saying?
Man, come on, man. Don't nobody tell you how to rhyme, right? So he stopped and looked. I was like, listen, man, why don't you all just let me finish what I'm doing, listen to it, and then, if we need to do something or change something up, then, we'll take it from there, man. I said, but just let me finish doing what I'm doing first, man. And luckily, Marley being patient, because he could have said, yo, man, go ahead, man. Beat it. But, luckily he was patient, man. He let me finish it. Shan let me finish the way I wanted to do. And as they started listening to it, they started to get it.
It was done over. Marley Marl had flipped it and made it real, the Marley Marl.
How different was it from what you did?
Not too different pattern-wise, but sound-wise. Marley Marl had all the good sounds, with using the impeach the president kick and snare. That just kind of really made it hip-hop. I guess I had a little more electronic in the demo sound, but the skeleton was there, but he took it to that other level, to really where it's at, what you hear, but just to hear go from there is like, wow. So everybody's like, why did he stick with you, man? And it's this, like we were saying before we even got started, is sometimes you can't, once you get into the industry, it's hard to really stick with the chemistry. They got their own circle and stuff, and sometimes the producer you work with, it gets left behind. They got some other producers up in there now that they just kind of take over, so you don't have a lot of control when you're not in control,
MC Shan, if you look at the records, me and Shan did the mixes because, to tell the truth, Marley didn't believe in this.
Right.
Marley didn't believe in Eric B. He thought Rakim was the worst rapper in the world. He thought Rakim was rhyming slow. Never forget, he's like, oh, Eric, Rakim is rhyming slow.
So when Rakim came on the straight lyrical, intricate, like a person that's writing a book, you know what I'm saying? And once that happened, it just changed the game.
And this and that, we should sell.
So he was complaining.
We should sell a track to Aaron Fuchs and Tough City Records, and the tracks came out good. And Rakim's giving me a headache, and MC Shan said, yo man, the God is ill, man, and Shan just loved it. So Marlon didn't want to do the mixes. So me and Shan had been around so long and watched him do the mixes, and me and Shan did the mixes on Eric B. as President My Melody.
Right.
And so, when it comes to history, just tell the truth. It ain't no big deal.
Right.
As they started listening to it, they started to get it. But it took a couple weeks later for it to come out on the radio and them to hear it on the radio. We did a show together, and I just remember walking up to the backstage, and Shan and Marley was standing there looking at me, and I'm walking across the parking lot, and I look up, they looking, I'm like, fuck these niggas looking at me. So when I get up to them, they look at me and they start smiling. They say, yo, we get it now, man. We see what you was trying to do. So I was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? But, it's just a blessing, man, that Marley was patient and let me do, what I wanted to do in the way I wanted to do. Because that's what got me here today.
MC Shan knew his style of rap was over. You know what I'm saying? He said, this guy's going to change the game, and you're going to learn how to adapt, or you're going to be left behind. So that's the golden era begins.
See, during the year of 87, hip-hop music and the sound of the music started to change drastically. Rakim was a major game changer. Any rapper before him had a much more different style of rhyme and flow pattern. Even the style of dress changed. The rap artist's fashion style changed to more of a streetwear with the custom dapper dance suit, fat gold chains, from the costumish type wear. Welcome to 1987, where Rakim would change hip-hop.
This whole thing went in phases, and every time it went to a level. You know, you had a level where it was created by Herc and Sasa and Coke, and then you went to the era of the Busy Bee Starsky era, and then you had that change from the the Kumo D era.
Grandmaster Caz and Melly Mel.
Those cats right there kind of taught me to do this, you know what I mean? Listening to them, that was the blueprint, you know what I mean? And they just made it easy to understand what a rapper was.
That came in, and then you had the the next change of the Dougie Fresh era. You know, that came in, and then when Ra's era came, when he stepped in, it took a big change. It took a huge jump.
Because Rob was still, at the time when that record came out, Rob was still in school. A lot of people don't realize that, the first pressing of it. And he came running on the bus, on the band bus, because we was all on band together. And he used to play the baritone sax. And we was marching in the parade, and he came on the bus. He said, "Yo, Bilal, look at everybody. I got my record. I got my record." And we was like, "Yo, Eric B for president."
He came back one day with a record. He came back with that. This is after I saw him with Eric B. He came and just didn't see nothing for a while. He came back, yo, this is out. He orange, what you call it, test pressing. The Zakia records I saw on there, and they had, you know, and then put it on, and we heard, check out the melody first. And he turned it over, and Eric B. for president was on the other side. And I said, well, that's the beat that we started to do down in the spot. But
at this time, the Kid Wizard fully takes on the name Rakim Allah. Even as the dope MC that he was, he still felt he had something to prove, and that would play out in his lyrics.
I got into the Nation of Islam in 1986. You know, what inspired me is, you know, I was at the point where I needed something to, you know, uplift my world as far as, you know, I had to go to the next level. I'm saying I was tired of running in the streets. You know, I just needed something, you know, to give me a little more self-esteem, and that's what it did.
He's the one that made me want to be a 5%er. You know, where I come from, if you didn't know today's mathematics, it might be a little bit of a problem for you. You know, stepping up to that little grocery store in the Ave to get your mother's bread and, you know, and the cereal for your brothers and sisters. So you had to pass the guard section. And in passing the guard section, of course, you know, they played the guard.
You know, my family is from the Nation, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, the guard, you know, talk and the whole thing is kind of, that was really the essence of that era. That's where, you know, niggas was on some, you know, what's the knowledge guard and the whole thing. So being fly, having, you know, gold on it, just being a black guard was what it was about, you know what I'm saying? So that was what he personified to me in terms of his presentation. That's why people fucked with him. Like, he seemed like a guy that really carried himself like that. You know what I'm saying? So salute to the God, Rakim.
I was at work one day and was playing the radio. And we had, after that, I know he had became God, you know. He became a God and got involved in 5% Nation. And I knew his name was Rakim.
Once you deal with the mental, you know what I'm saying, and everything else speaks for itself. Once you tell somebody, you know, how powerful their mind is, and they think about it, then they start to utilize it, you know what I'm saying? Then they realize, you know, man, I can do this. I ain't got to ask, you know, I ain't got to put my hands together and look up and ask nobody for a job. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go get a job or do what I gotta do, you know, to make ends meet.
And then I realized that he was talking about something. 85, 5, and 10. Whoa. What do those numbers represent? 85 is the deaf, dumb, and blind of the masses that follow. 5% of the ones who have chosen knowledge, who have knowledge of self and wisdom and understanding. And then you got the 10%, which is the others.
Like I said, at that point, I needed Islam, you know, slow me down a little bit and take life a little more serious, you know.
Yeah, we didn't know Rakim was from Long Island.
But
Rakim was from Fort Greene, man. Sorry.
That's what you thought?
Yeah, he felt like that. He was around dudes from Fort Greene, legends. Killer Ben, Supreme Magnetic, 50 Cent, rap.
A lot of city cats slept on Long Island cats, like they was country or something. You know, we were supposed to be country niggas or something like that. So to see people like Rakim, EPMD, Biz.
We loved EPMD. We loved Public Enemy. We didn't, it was dope. We didn't look at Long Island. We didn't look down on it. Like, I don't think back then it was so much about where he was from. It was about, I don't think that even entered the situation, because it was not like the music that they was making was promoting where they was from anyway. It was like, I'm from Long Island. You know, I think it was just that we loved the music. It was a song from a dude who came from Long Island, I remember. Long Island.
Strong Island.
Strong Island, right.
Yeah, JVC Force.
Yeah, we liked that song. We loved that song.
Regardless where you from, you know, it's where you at. You know, like if people, you know, use a crutch as far as, you know, they ain't got this or they ain't got that, you know, that's, everything else is material. You know what I'm saying? As long as they got their physical form and their mind, whatever they want to happen can happen. You know, and I express that too. Rakim means sun god, from the land of the burnt-faced people. Ra means sun god. Kim is another word for Egypt. You know, and it means the land of the burnt-faced people.
Rakim, to this day, to people, is still one of the greatest MCs ever. That's enough said. And a Long Island nigga.
You know, coming from Long Island, it was a little different. You know, you can kind of stretch out and, you know, it wasn't as hectic as the city. But at the same time, being on the outside looking in gave me a different understanding of what was going on in the city.
If Rakim was paid, like if you could legitimately find a way to pay somebody for the amount of influence that they have on hip hop, like Ra would be a billionaire. He'd be the godfather, the Bill Gates of it.
You know, knowing that I was from Long Island and being a rapper, you know, on that note, you got to be a little more flamboyant. You got to be a little more, you know, extra. Not extra on a fake sense, but you know, the competition in New York. You know, at that time, you know, Long Island was a little slower than New York. You know what I mean? It took videos and time for different cities to catch up with other cities. You know what I mean? By watching videos and hearing records, we know what goes on down south. We know what goes on in California. We know what goes on across seas.
I feel like 80s, late 80s really took it there on that king. Like the word king was really taken literal. Like they really felt like they was kings, you know what I'm saying? So that's where all the truck jewelry and everything comes from. It's literally showing you wealth, like on your person, you know what I'm saying? Like they basically got a house on them and they're showing you exactly how rich and powerful. That's all rich, just showing wealth and power. That's what it's showing.
With the big chain, the big donkey ropes, and that's like, that was a sign like you made it. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to have that. No, you got that shit on. Like who is this motherfucker? And you couldn't walk around with that shit on if you wasn't somebody.
That's who you wanted to be. That's who you wanted to be back then. You wanted to be that nigga with the, you know what I'm saying? Bow, you know what I mean? Rings busting out, silk song with the part, you know what I mean? In front of the Benz. Fuck you mean?
I think Rakim set the standard for New York fashion at that time. You know what I mean? Because down south we wasn't into all the fur coats and all that. But when we saw them do it up north, we can do that down here too. So I would definitely agree. That's definitely at the top of the fashion game when it came to stuff like that.
That's why movies like Dope is being made, or you see the breaks being shown on VH1. There's a reason for that.
You feel people are missing that
because they know that era will never be duplicated, but it's so fly. The 90s was just fly. Not taking nothing from what happened, but that right there was the bulk. The late 80s and up to that was the bulk of what you see now. We laid that as far as our era.
Motherfucking big ass ropes, or multiple ropes, and the big anchors and all that shit. Yeah, man, the rings and all that shit. That was part of, actually, it was like part of the costume, you know what I'm saying? But everybody, you had to have it. If you didn't have it, you know what I'm saying, you was whack.
Back then, putting them word patterns together and putting hip hop, I'm sure there's other guys that do it. I mean, Kane, a bunch of niggas, but I was mad young, so when I'm looking, Rakim was the first that I noticed that was using the word patterns and putting it together that early in hip hop. So he was super instrumental, man. He was super instrumental and lyrical and nice, and he had the style and the jewelry and all of that shit. Like, Rakim was an ill nigga.
Rakim came out, he kind of like changed the way rappers rap and recite their lyrics. You know, in the era of hype rap, like Run DMC's, LL Cool J, where they had the hype, you know, energetic raps, Rakim was more laid back, slow flow, intricate lyrics.
We knew, see, one thing about us, too, on Long Island, we knew what everybody was doing in the sense of what the sound was. He changed the whole sound with one record.
But when Rakim came out, it almost flatlined all of those old flows.
Yeah.
His rhyme style flatlined a lot of old flows and made people think about how they pattern their lyrics.
The Paid in Full album hit stores, and Rakim transforms hip-hop.
Because everybody was doing, and you don't stop. Bob did the bob, the dang, dig it. You know, it was that old school, but it wasn't called old school. It was new then.
Everybody go hotel, motel, holiday inn. You say if your girl starts acting up, then you take a friend. I say skip, dive, what can I say?
So they was doing a certain cadence. Where Ra slowed everything down.
Everybody was like, yo, nigga, you sound like this nigga Rakim. I'm like, how? I never saw it, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, certain niggas was like, yo, this nigga trying to bite Rakim style, you know what I'm saying? So that shit got under my skin so bad. Like, on my second album, I switched my whole shit up. You know what I'm saying? Which I always say that was the wrong shit to do.
I mean, to me, when you come in with original style, that right there is a contribution. Because everybody right now is just biting. Like, it's cool to bite.
And Rod was mean with it. Rod was rough. You know, he had that quiet, hard swagger. Everybody wanted to be down, you know, and yo, you couldn't front on Rakim. Who could front on Rakim?
You know, Rod was just so great. And one thing, like, you used to never really hear him speak. Just calm, cool. Like, you know, the mystique about him was just so ill.
Lyrics, stuff, just the top joints. that he said that stuck in your mind that, you know, forever, whenever you hear his name? And then those, you know, the 7 MCs, there's a few that really where he broke things down.
He had certain shit that maybe at that time seemed like it was slow, but it really wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, check out my melody, it's not really actually slow, but if you compare that with other joints at that time, you know what I'm saying? It might have been slow in comparison to that.
So even if you didn't per se know Rakim or listen to his music like that, your favorite rapper's favorite rapper is Rakim.
Oh man, definitely Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Biggie, Jay-Z, Slick Rick, LL Cool J. Anybody who's got lyrical content and you know that you gotta, cause he set the bar so high because of the way he put words together and the way he made sense. He definitely influenced all them cats.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the hip hop and Rakim, they go hand in hand. You can't talk about hip hop and not talk about Rakim.
Opening doors, I mean, sparking brains. Like, I feel like what he said, his lyrics, things, words and songs that came out that he made, changed rap.
If you had the pleasure to be in his presence and got his attention, he would take that feeling and multiply it by 1,000 because he would make you feel like you somebody.
Rakim's impact was simply more than just a new artist coming to the forefront. He was like a hip-hop force. His presence alone made the well-established artists feel like something was missing, and the new artists felt compelled to get close to him. His childhood friends and people from his neighborhood knew how special he was. It just took the world to catch on.
If you didn't know, he seemed unapproachable because he's so quiet and laid back. So most cats, you don't want to look stupid, you don't want to sound stupid, you know what I'm saying? So I've seen cats, they don't know how to act around him. But once he talked to you and you realize, yo, this nigga's real. Yo, I've seen cats leave like fucked up. You know, like they still probably trying to process it. Yo, Rod's dope. You know, real dude, man.
Putting your flag up and representing for who you are and where you were from, and doing it in a way with class and respect. Not just professional respect, but street code respect. Because where we come from, you know, there's people that live there, and there's other people that have to know somebody to come visit there.
Oh man, one of the dopest MCs ever to touch a microphone. I don't think Rakim gets a lot of the credit he deserves for lyrical content, for just ripping the microphone and just crushing it.
And I was at work one day, and this song came on the radio, and I will never forget that. Yo, I turned that radio up so loud, you know, I told everybody, yo, this is, I know him, it's Rakim, he's from Wyandanch. Yeah, he's from Wyandanch. You know, at work, man.
Whenever I see his success, I felt like it was my success. You know, and I had to catch flack from everybody in the neighborhood. Like, yo, Ack, you started him off. Ack, you wrote his rhymes. I'm like, where y'all getting this? Like, can't nobody write rhymes like that but him.
We was dead up uptown in their home, cracking. Like, they never heard nothing like it in their lives. When Rakim said a rhyme back then, you never heard it before. As simple as that.
Like, where are y'all getting this? And I'm like, and I would catch it from, you know, people out here saying, you know, how it would feel to see him on TV and you still in Wyandanch. I'm like, it feels fabulous because I feel like that's my success too.
It's good, it's so good to hear people speak about him, you know, and to say he's the best lyricist that ever made a record. When you hear people say that, I don't know that people understand the magnitude of that statement, that he is the best rapper that ever made a record in the history of rap.
Every once in a while, if you're lucky, you'll get a chance to see some things in life that will change your perspective. For me and a bunch of us, that was Eric B. and Rakim. 30 years later, after the debut of Paid in Full, he has still managed to carry the same persona. Along with his partner Eric B., they made the culture of hip-hop do two things: forever be grateful for their contribution to hip-hop, and they made us all check out their melody.